Stonehenge.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 22nd of April, 2018. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
It's time to say boo summer because it's suddenly arrived.
And Robert Kemp.
In April.
Yeah. It's going to be like a week of summer and then it'll go away again, as is traditional.
Yeah, and then it's going to be horrid again, apparently.
It's just how close the winter was to the summer that's the weirdest.
Well, yeah, it was like literally a week before this, I was scraping ice off my car, and now it's like ridiculously hot.
And there's people having water fights outside the house, you know.
Had a barbecue yesterday.
I had a barbecue last week.
Yeah.
Pretty much the first day it was hot, I was just like, I opened the window, it's like, oh, it smells like barbecue.
Yeah, so it works.
Everyone must be barbecuing.
I say I had a barbecue.
You haven't used your
I haven't.
You attended a barbecue.
Yes,
You ate
I haven't.
barbecue.
I haven't quite brought myself to the horror that is cleaning a barbecue yet.
Make sure there's no wasp nests under there or anything.
Yeah, some of the like the snails and spiders move in over winter. So you gotta get those buggers out.
Can't you just spray it down or something? What shape is it?
It's like a drum, isn't it? You know.
Oh, a drum.
Does it
Yeah.
have like holes in the bottom? Could you just
does,
theoretically just drench it?
Yeah. It's got
Yeah, but
ventilation,
then
surely.
you still got the skanky stuff that's all stuck there. Like I don't know, things sort of just appear on that surface. It's kind of horrible. So you have to like give it a proper scrub down and stuff.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be done if you want to have some barbecues. If in the week that we've got or less.
Yeah. It's more the point that it's probably fine, right? Because you fire. But it's like, do you really want the sort of burnt, charred remains of whatever was there sort of potentially wafting into your food?
I suppose that's true. It's probably fine though, isn't it? If it's at the bottom and you've just shoved charcoal there and it's all burning, it's probably going to deal with
gas.
Charcoal.
My barbecue's gas.
Oh, you got a gas one. Oh, okay.
Gas barbecue?
Now we're cooking with gas.
No, your grill. Getting up on my grill.
How much longer until you need more gas?
I don't know, actually, because that is an enormous can.
Do you have like a
and
tank?
Yeah. Got a big old can.
Oh, and you
I was like,
can't tell how pressurized it is, or
Well, it does have a little pressure indicator on it, but the moment that starts dropping is the time you should probably get it replaced.
right, so it
according to the
stays fairly
instructions.
constant until
Yeah.
it drops.
So as soon as that starts dropping, that's the moment you need to actually
Hmm.
do something about it. So up until then, I don't know how much I've got.
And where do you keep the gas canister? Like in the winter, just next to it, or
Yeah, just out there.
Hmm.
Why not? It's a big heavy ass gas canister.
I guess so. I can't see anything could go wrong if it freezes or anything.
I mean, they keep them all out outside over the road where they've got like cages set up where
Yeah,
they keep
that's
them all at the garage over the road. So it's.
Yep.
I assume if they're doing it, I'm doing it.
Yeah, fair.
Gaseous, but I did get one of the big cans because it was like when you pick them up, you have to put. It's weird. You have to sort of like put down a deposit for them, but the deposit's the same no matter what size of can you get. So it's like, I might as well get a biggie then because the gas is actually not the expensive part.
Oh, right. So that then you take back in the end, you take back the canister.
Yeah. You never just throw away the cans. You always take them back, and because that's how they don't fill them up. You just take the can back and they'll give you a new one.
Right. They swap it out.
Just swap it out just to be quicker. So that means you can swap out for any size you want, pretty much, once you put the deposit down to be in this can club.
You're in.
I'm in the gas club.
But you have to go back to that specific.
I don't think so.
Right?
No, I think as long as you're registered.
With
I actually have no idea at this point. Like having
gas
never
can
had to
club.
refill,
No.
had to never address my gas can refill needs. But in theory, now you can just go anywhere. It's
Is
just
it
like
colour?
you're on record. I think the fact that you have a can is enough for them. Thinking about it, like to a certain extent, like you give them your name or something, and
Well,
that's
assuming it's a type of can that they deal with, I guess.
Yeah.
If you took it somewhere where it's like we don't use that specific brand of can and connectors and stuff, then they probably wouldn't actually be able to do anything with it.
Well, I doubt like the garage over the road are the people filling it up themselves. In fairness, I think they probably just wait for a gas van to come around.
Still have to distribute those to someone else who probably needs a specific thing.
I don't know, I reckon a truck just comes and picks them up, and then they take them somewhere, and that's where they get
but a
filled
specific
up.
company truck that has a specific design of can and valve, probably.
Well, it depends. It's all. As Dan said, it's kind of all colour, isn't it? Like all this stuff.
Or
Like
maybe BOC, but I guess that's for like big stuff, right? British Oxygen
maybe.
Company.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those bands for a long time. Maybe they don't exist anymore.
Bok.
Bok.
I guess Arcella, the new kid on the block, in terms of gas distribution. I know they're really old, but you know.
Let's see.
We don't need to Google this.
There we go.
Let's talk about something else instead of gas.
Should we talk about Ready Player One?
No. Let's not have a film section over.
Oh, but Ready Player One is like vaguely video gaming.
What?
I'll contribute to the film section by saying when I left the house, my parents were watching episode 1.
Okay, great.
And I was like, why? Why would you be doing that?
Was it on the TV? It just happened to be
Well,
on
I
the
mean,
TV.
they were watching it on the TV, but I don't know what if it was on a channel or whether it was
Or Netflix or
on
something.
Now TV.
Right.
Okay.
But it's just like, why that one? And then it ended up really loud. So when I came downstairs to make cup of tea, I was listening to it, and I was like,
Pod
hang on a minute, that's fucking Jar Jar. Why are they watching episode 1?
That's a very strange film to be watching actively. Unless they're like digging for meme material.
No, probably not.
Probably
Sitting there with the notebooks going, clip us at 4 minutes past.
There's still more meme material in those films to be mined, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it's not a matter of the film material getting mined for memes. It's a matter of the real world providing the material that you shove onto the film material
Yes.
to make the meme.
That's true.
Still not sure I get the Steam Ham things though. Like, why?
Oh,
why
Steve
is that
Hand is
something-
brilliant.
But it's not. But it's not.
Yes, it
it's just playing the scene in with slight tweaks to
Well,
it.
that's
Like,
basically what all memes are.
I know,
Yeah.
but it's such a long scene.
It is long.
I mean, that's part of what makes it slightly more interesting. Is maybe being that long gives you a chance to do things with it if you actually have the effort. Like converting the entire scene into a whole song.
That was pretty good.
Clams.
Steamed clams.
I've seen a few now. I caught up. Like,
There's not that many. good
I
ones.
became meme educated, but
Yeah.
it's like, yep, no, not seeing why this one is the thing.
I just have a lot of affection for The Simpsons, I think. That was a... Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I mean, that was a funny episode in
Yeah.
general. Whoa, that's good squishy.
That's good, squishy.
Pretty sure that was the same episode, right?
Well, it's like the Tales from Springfield, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
whatever, like lots of mini stories.
I'm sure other people must have interesting days, right? So yeah, Ready Player One,
Is a film
surprisingly good film.
with a lot of references.
The Spielberg effect has saved it
You think?
from. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. In fairness,
Cool.
I am 100% the target market. In fairness, but
That's true. But still,
but from my perspective, yeah, dang good time. They didn't milk the video game thing too much. They didn't. I mean, it is a video game. It's a giant video game. But when I say milk it, you know how with like many films, when they put it in there, like they either over-explain it, or they say something, or they use language that's just you're sitting there going, ugh. Not even the people who play these games say stuff like that. But they somehow avoid all that sort of like uncanny. It's the uncanny language barrier, I guess. In this case, it's like it's not. They're not necessarily trying to speak that language. They just sort of manage it, and it blends, and it seems to fit in okay. They make up a few terms, but they're not super terrible. Like dying is referred to as zeroing out because you lose everything you have in the game.
great.
So it's like you're zeroing. It's like you've got nothing. Start again. And it's like,
Well,
okay, that sort of makes sense. That sounds like a term someone would come up with.
It's no worse than like what's the Assassin's Creed where you desynchronize or something,
Oh, something like that, yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
But even then, I think desync would or desynchronize would make. If they shortened it to desync, I think it'd be okay. But if they said desynchronize, I think I'd be like,
yeah.
maybe not. Doesn't sound so great. And they visualize its mechanics about coin and stuff, and then I think the first 20 minutes of it are a bit of a hard view because they, like they said, they are doing the thing that a lot of films do, like in the first 20 minutes, where it's just like, here's a reference, here's a thing, look at this thing, let's talk about the game in a way that's trying not to be exposition-y, but ultimately kind of is.
Because you have to explain what the hell's going on. So.
Yeah, like, here's a store, and we're going to explain every item that we're looking at, because they'll come up later in the story, because of course they will. Things like that. It's a little bit heavy-handed with some of that.
It's done as best as it can be, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe. It's like, we need to explain this doohickey. So when it happens, people just don't go, oh, that was convenient.
Which it nevertheless is.
Yes, nevertheless. But, yeah, a surprisingly good fun thing.
Cool.
The sequences are good, the visuals are good. It has that sort of... Did you watch Spielberg's Tintin film?
No, I never saw that. I really want to, because it's like written by Joe Cornish, I think.
No, is it? Wow.
Yeah. And
so it's
maybe.
Yeah, because it's pretty. I mean, that was pretty good as well. But it has a sort of tendency of being very. What's the word? I think it's because he's unshackled by the limitations of having real cameras.
Yeah.
There's a tendency to just throw them around everywhere.
Mm.
Something that modern 3D animated films kind of stay away from a little bit. They try and limit themselves to being like, oh, what could we do with real cameras rather than. Right,
to make it feel more kind of
like an actual film.
Audience.
Whereas this goes completely the other way and goes, oh, we can do wild stuff. Let's just lots of spinning cameras and that go everywhere and see everything from every angle. And you don't need to cut here because we can just swing into place. And it's like that can be a bit overly swimmy, but
definitely
gives it a unique look at least.
They should have just done the Doom thing, except for third person. Just made it when you're in the game. It only has a third person camera that locks onto one of the characters and pivots around them, but they change his character. Yes.
Yeah, they stay clear from that. They actually surprisingly don't do any of that. Really, there's very little. I can't remember a shot where they really actually go, "Oh, he's playing the game from first person," or even though everyone is.
Yeah, obviously.
And
well,
it's
I guess
it's just slightly weird. They kind of steer clear of that and just sort of present it like the world is a thing, and you could throw a spectate camera around it, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not even like a spectate camera exactly. Like when it's like camera work, but it's slightly different to just having a camera that just goes wherever the fuck you want.
Yeah. And obviously some of the conceits about how people are playing the game don't really work. They haven't quite figured out how, if in a bit of the game world where, I don't know, there's the bit in the trailer where there's a squad of guys just running down the street, holding up their hands as if they're holding guns, and then it cuts to the in-game equivalent, and they're running across a big open world as Halo Spartans. And it's, but, they're clearly just on a street, and it's like, yeah, but if does that mean they can't turn left or right where they want to because they just run into traffic,
actual stuff
or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's things there, and it's so there are bits of that don't really hold up, or when people are jumping over couches to do the precise actions in the game with them jumping over a thing, and it's like, yeah, but that really how are you moving forwards?
And also, isn't the real world pretty much trashed? Everyone
at least the part of it we see,
right?
The core the main premise is that the Oasis is where everyone goes to escape. Effectively, right. They're leaning heavily on the escapism aspect, and so everyone does that rather than do anything else with their spare time.
But that would mean there'd be even more junk everywhere to run into in VR.
Yeah, well, it's there are sections of it where you can just see there are people in what look like collections of homeless, I suppose, but they're all wearing VR headsets still. So it's even they would probably give up their homes just to be in the game, or something like that. It's like I don't know if they don't obviously go into what that's about, but it's a bit of a strange message if you wanted to dig into it. It's like, what are you trying to say here? Probably nothing, but
Well, the real question is, where are all those people in the game? Like, what are they doing?
well, yeah.
They just like sitting around.
Well,
because they are in real life.
but it does in theory all come together in some ways, but anyway, yeah, it's stupid, but it's stupid in a really fun way. Like you can really have a good time watching it. It's not, but in the same ways, it's like it's a very different kind of stupid from like Scott Pilgrim, but still very enjoyable.
I think I'll probably watch it on TV.
Oh,
But yeah, I don't know.
it's one of those things that if I went 4K HDR, I think it would be a pretty damn good set piece for it.
I'm sure that'll happen someday, Rob.
Yeah.
And when it does, I'll be watching that on your TV.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. With some Domino's pizza. Or other brands
pizza
are
chains
available, including other ones that we frequent.
I don't know. Yeah, I just thought it was bringing up simply because it's
Cool.
it's video
Game related.
relevant. It annoys Zach slightly less.
And now we have news on stuff that is actual video games.
What's in the news? Have you got any kitchen bitching before we begin? Like, how's the HelloFresh?
It's going well, yeah. Apart from this week, because it got sunny, I ended up going for beers after work multiple days, so I haven't cooked it all. So need to make one tonight, basically. But
You're gonna slowly run the stash.
yeah, but it's always tasty. I made like a sea bream thingy with
Sea bream's nice.
yeah, it was very nice, grilled with green beans and mashed potatoes and stuff. It was super nice. Yeah.
It sounds decidedly not like bitching though.
No.
There's not much bitching. I almost had a bit of bitching where I could have sworn that we had a potato masher for that, and then it went missing. But I managed to find it, and then when I used it, the handle came off. So I need to get my own potato masher, basically. Basically, I can't rely on anything that we already have because it's probably shit quality, so I have to go and buy all my own tools.
Well, top tip from my own experience: don't get the mashers that look cool. They almost inevitably are the worst to actually use. Like the one we made the mistake once of getting one of those ones that just looks like a sine wave.
No, yeah,
totally doesn't work.
I'm just gonna
the
get
ones that are
like
proper.
OXO good grips. I mean, it's in the name. Good grip. It's got to be good, right?
You just want something that's solid that doesn't bend and has tiny holes. That'll do.
Yeah,
like the one I've got now is more like a bit of Swiss cheese. Like it's a solid plate of metal with just like drilled holes in it.
Yeah, that's basically what you need. Yeah,
works pretty good.
But there's no kettle bitching. Everything's
I mean,
sorted
they've got
out
the
now.
good kettle now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem, hopefully, for a while.
Okay.
I can complain about my brain doing stupid things while I was asleep, which is very annoying, and made me hella tired again last week. Where it's like I don't very often actually remember dreams, and I didn't even actually remember this
Me
one
either.
because this is where it went weird. Where like I don't remember what the original dream was, but I remember that there came a point where it really grossed me out for some reason, to the point where I realized it was a dream, and I was just like, "Well, fuck this! I'm just going to wake up." So it's like that happened. So I totally don't remember what the dream was before that, which is weird. So it's just like I had this feeling that was what had been going on. So I was like, "Okay, fuck this! I'm going to wake up." Woke up, look at the clock, and it's like it's 2:30. Why the fuck do I feel so tired? Sat up in bed, and then I actually woke up, and then looked at the clock, and it said 9:30, and I was like, "Well, fuck." Thanks, brain. That's real helpful.
That's so weird.
Are you sure there wasn't like some kind of Inception team or something?
Well, that was the thing. It was like I woke up when I sat up, which is like the jump, the whatever they call it.
Yeah, the kick or whatever.
The kick.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I've inceptioned myself.
Does he do that? Does he Inception himself? I can't.
I don't think they do in the films.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Film.
Anyway, never mind.
Well, it's because the architect is the separate. They all have to have separate roles, don't they?
Yeah.
They don't really go into their own things, apart from in Limbo, I guess. That doesn't really count.
Yeah.
That was very annoying. It was not a good way to wake up, where you wake up and think it's 2 different times, and they're 2 different times that are like completely at the opposite ends of the scale, where one's way too late, one's too early, and it's just like, God damn it! I didn't want either of those results.
Basically, I've been falling into the old student sleep hole quite a lot recently. Like,
How do you
just
mean?
that state where you don't need to sleep anymore. Like, you're not really tired or anything like that, but you just can't get out of bed.
What, like on a normal work day or like at the weekend?
Yeah. Well, because there are days where Gnome takes herself to work, so I don't have to.
Oh no, then you don't have to wake up.
No, I don't have to wake up. No, I can do the run as late to 9 o'clock as I can before I wander into the other room.
Turn on Slack.
And so I have done, and then it's becoming quite bad because it's just like, oh, I need to actually get up and have breakfast or something. Maybe it's like, oh no, it's 5 to 9. Oh, I'm in trouble now. Quick, just sit down. It's like it's becoming really hard, and obviously the weekend has proven a bit of a problem. It's just like I can't get myself up. Except I did go running yesterday. And then, I was still in the sleep hole, so I did my run, got home, had a shower, fell asleep for an hour.
Fell asleep, yeah. I hate that when you're in a sleep hole for like, it's amazing. I could definitely make it all the way, multiple tubes, across the bridge, into work, up the lift, like through a whole stand up, and then drink a whole coffee before I get out of the sleep hole. It's like multiple hours still in the sleep hole. It's because not going to properly go to bed early enough or sleep early enough, which is stupid.
Yeah, probably. You sort of end up in. Well, it's like, Zach and I were playing Rocket League last night. I was sort of in a weird state where my face was tired, like
you're in some kind of Mass Effect game.
Yeah, that I actually had that problem. Like, it's weird. It's like my face felt like my eyes and like the muscle structure in my face was the only thing about me that felt tired. Like I still felt mentally active, and I was jiggling my leg like a mofo, as I'm doing right now. So I was still pretty awake, but my eyes were having none of it. And it's like, this is weird. Can I be properly tired, please? And then that carried on to when I actually decided, like, all right, I'm gonna have to call this. I'm gonna have to try and sleep regardless. And it was just like, my eyes went closed. It's like, this feels proper. But the rest of me is all like having a little dance. So I'm going, wait.
So you needed to sleep your face?
I needed to sleep my face somehow. Yeah.
Okay. I guess you could do that while running.
I thought, what? Just hope someone else can guide me.
Yeah.
I'll just wear a blindfold and just run with my eyes closed for a while. My face is tired.
I've definitely, now I've recovered from the week and I've had all the sleep I need, and now I feel relaxed. So it would be good to have one extra day off work so I could actually get some stuff done. But no. Oh well.
I know what you mean.
Never mind.
Well, Gnome's taking a day off, so that's me covered. Like, in a way, it's like all the stuff we were supposed to do this weekend. Well, Gnome's got a day off.
Gnome's going to do it tomorrow while you're working. Nice.
Yeah. Sorry, Gnome. Hey, something you guys might appreciate a bit more than anyone else who listens to this thing. But do you remember back in the trampoline days?
Yes.
When Zach had a trampoline that we always used to use.
Trampo.
There was a bouncing game we used to call Oi. That I don't think we've ever talked about on the podcast before.
Why would we even talk about
I don't know. It was just basically, just bouncing up and just casually shoving each other. It was like one hand. You were only allowed to use one hand, and
you were only allowed to make contact in the air.
Yeah, that was it.
Right. Yeah.
And it had to be like a body shove. Like, you couldn't just like put your hands in someone's face if you can help it. And they're like, oi, 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 push everyone around. And so there was earlier today, there was a kid outside who clearly hurt himself, or had kid hurt himself. It was the end of the world. He was bawling his eyes out. And a slightly older kid was just kneeling over him, going, oi, 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 trying to get his attention. And I'm just sat there going, I don't think that's really working for him right now. Oi, oi, oi. I just found it like just so funny.
Well, oi is like the British sound that
Oi.
no one else in the world seems to make.
Oi.
Oi.
Or you?
It's very useful.
Yeah. Almost everyone says hey or something, or I know. Oi, no, Japanese say oi, don't they? But as a sort of way of getting someone's attention, they'll be like oi.
Yeah, that's like,
But not really an oi.
with an H,
Yeah.
isn't it? So oi.
Is it go H? I thought it was just sort of an oi.
Oh, maybe not.
Or is it hoy? I don't know.
It's like, it sounds like ahoy to me.
Ahoy!
Ahoy! Yeah, because that you get that in Zelda even. Like, obviously not in the English translation, but the sound effect. Sometimes when they're trying to get attention, they go ahoy.
Yeah, even then, in my head, I'm still hearing it as a sort of oi, but it's a long oi. It's not like oi.
Oi.
Oi. Maybe we need to play some Yakuza. See if they go oi.
Yes.
Oi, Spiker.
Oi, Spiker.
Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy that.
Indeed.
Oi.
News.
News. What's going on in news? Let's go down the list.
Not very much is what's going on.
Let's see if any of this interests anyone.
No, probably not.
See what sticks.
Sega have announced the Mega Drive Mini.
Oh, of course they have.
Well, here's the thing. They sort of already did that like last year, except it was licensed out to like At Games or something to make, and it was kind of bad. Like not very good emulation or anything.
They've got to
like
do
that.
it proper.
Yeah, so apparently that's what's happening. It's coming in house this time, and they're going to do it for realsies.
They don't make hardware though.
No, well, yeah, good point. Like they'll probably have to partner with someone, but Sega's quality control, I guess, will be all over it this time, rather than saying, "Hey, we just left it to these guys. They can do it." I mean, Sega's done emulated stuff before, like the Backbone developed stuff they put out on XBLA and things like that. They've done emulator jobs before, and all that stuff they put out on Steam, that's all technically emulated as well.
They fucked up real badly.
Yep.
Let people do weird things with, like inserting different ROMs.
Yeah. Not very well secured stuff. So, and Mega Drive emulation has been pretty solid for a very long time. There's no real quirks to figure out. Unlike even the SNES still has some quirks that some stuff gets a little wrong in places, but only subtly. So yeah, it might be another cool thing to have, another reason to play some old games. Although almost certainly won't be finished with all the SNES ones by the time that thing comes out.
Do you think they'll do the same as the SNES, where there's a Mega Drive version and a Genesis version for North America and stuff?
I think they'll probably do that. I reckon, because people here won't really know. I guess if you're doing the nostalgia play, you've got to do it the way you had it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they have put things out here, I think, as the Genesis collection in the past. Like, I think the collection they put out on Xbox 360 was a Genesis collection. I can probably just look behind me, actually, and tell you.
At least in that case, it conveniently is a word that also means something relevant to the. It's like it's the Genesis of Sega. Like that still technically makes sense if you're just using that word in its original context, not as the name of the system.
It's not though, is it? There's the Master System and all that.
Well, yeah, Sega Mark IIs if you want to go real back.
Yeah, but they're not going to go that far back in their own. It might as well be the Genesis of Sega.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because the Master System isn't really looked back on half as fondly as the NES is.
It's because it wasn't nearly as good as the NES, was it?
Well, similar specs and capabilities, really. Just one might argue that Sega's game collection of that age just wasn't as interesting.
No, but then
or doesn't hold up so well.
They got a grip on it with the Mega Drive.
Get a grip. So there's that. Talking more like old school stuff, we're getting Panzer Dragoon Orta, Blinks, Conquer Live and Reloaded, and a load more other OG Xbox games being finally released for backwards compatibility on
Sweet.
Xbone.
Been waiting for Panzer Dragoon Auto. Such a
Yeah.
weird game. but
It
so
is a
good.
weird game.
Like the
but
story stuff in that is like quite weird.
Oh, it's really
Cutscenes
out
and
there.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole language of that game is made. It's made
Yeah.
up, isn't it? The way everyone speaks and stuff is invented.
Yeah.
And it's a real weird thing. But boy, is it cool! The actual gameplay is cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a shame because I revisited it not all that long ago on 360, and it was playing. I think I got about halfway through it while I was playing.
Did you get as far as when you go like running across the snow?
Yeah, that was pretty much where I got to.
Yeah.
But then I hit a kind of fatal flaw, and that game doesn't really auto save.
Oh
And then the emulation crashed, and so I lost loads of progress.
shit. Yeah.
And it's like, okay. So that whether or not that was the lack of auto, I can't honestly remember if the lack of autosave was a glitch in the emulator, or in the 360 emulator, or if it was or even if the crash was a glitch in the emulator. But it was still like, maybe I won't touch this again until they have another go, or until I can bother to get my OG Xbox out.
Mm.
But the bit I'm most interested in is like, if Panzer gets the same treatment on Xbox One X that the other OG Xbox that like 360 games are getting, with like 4K resolution tweaks and things like that, then man, that could be a really nice thing to go back to. Just like, you don't have to play it in old res. You can play it in HD. Panzer Dragoon HD. Come on,
It's a dream.
Blinks the Time Sweeper HD.
No thanks. Game was surprisingly okay at the time.
Yeah. Innovative things with time. On a similar note, Red Dead Redemption could run on an Xbox Ox in 4K now.
On Xbox One X.
Yeah, an Xbox
right.
Ox.
Sweet. Oh, well, that's good news. I haven't got one, so I won't be playing that again. But that's okay. It looks quite good. I saw some like shots of it and stuff. Like certain things look a lot better because of the 4K. Because some of the textures are actually fine, but then because it's open world, because you can see more detail, the level of detail doesn't seem to have. They haven't changed the LOD. So the low detail stuff, models in the background in 4K look pretty bad. So yeah, it's like a kind of swings and roundabouts thing.
Well, in fairness, it sounds like all of this stuff. It sounds like Microsoft's going out of its way to make the emulator do these hacks effectively to get this stuff to work. It's like they're not going to Rockstar to say,
No.
"Hey, can you help us support this?"
Yeah,
they're just hacking it in, and it's just like, so credit to them for what they're actually managing to achieve. That's kind of neat, And they're I think there's some stuff floating around that Undead Nightmare used to push the 360 a little bit too hard.
Yeah,
in terms of performance. So now running on an Xbox Ox in 4K, it's fine. Just go do it. It'll be fun. You'll have a good time.
Yeah. Although gaming's come a bit further since then. And when did Red Dead come out? It's a while ago now, isn't it? 2010. How old?
Yeah, blimey, yeah, it is a really long time.
Old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would hold up. It's not like gaming's come that far.
No, it hasn't. I mean, and it's such a great game. But yeah, just looking forward to the sequel there.
Yeah, boy. Shenmue HD is also coming. I think everyone sort of predicted this was going to be a thing, because I guess everyone wondered, is Shenmue 3 actually going to be able to finance itself into production, or is Sony going to give them enough assistance to actually get this thing done? And it's like, well, they need a bit of money. So Shenmue HD, and it's important to note that it's not a full remaster. They are literally just putting out the old version of the game that can run at newer resolutions and perhaps have some quality settings on PC. They're not doing any actual texture updates or enhancements to it. It is the original games as they were. But I guess this finally means it's like there's actually a way to play those games, because short of picking up a Dreamcast or an OG Xbox, it's like for Shenmue 2 anyway, it's like you've got no choice on a modern machine at all. And this is getting a fairly decent multi-platform release. Like it'll be on Bone, PS4. I think they said they might even be a Switch version, but put everything on the Switch.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we can take it on the go.
Game announcements. We got. While we're on that front, we've got a couple more. Jackbox 5 is out this year,
Sweet.
unsurprisingly. But the weird thing there, that we don't know anything about what games are in it, other than the fact that they have boasted about there being the new You Don't Know Jack in this version.
Nice.
With 8 player support.
So, but it won't be a full on You Don't Know Jack, right?
Well, like we said the last time they did it, like in Jackbox 1, it's like questions were fine. Sort of format of the game was fine, even if it wasn't quite up to the standard of the PS3 version in terms of its presentation. PS3 version is top notch, but this had there's a bit of a step down, I guess, because of file sizes. Maybe they didn't feel like they put the same level of effort into making it look like You Don't Know Jack, I guess. But it also, like, the main problem was that it suffered because when they were doing their, everyone plays with a mobile thing. The latency of having your phone talk to the Jackbox website, talk to your console, meant that, the I've got to buzz first format,
right,
didn't feel good at all. To the point where we played it a couple of times and we never went back to it, because it's just like it was quite a hefty package, quite a lot of questions in there. But it's just like the problem is it's just not as good as the previous version. We've got loads of questions left still on the PS3 version. Let's play that.
It's like they already mostly solved the problem, because they got rid of the whole. I mean, from the very old Jackbox stuff, not Jackbox, You Don't Know Jack stuff. They got rid of the whole idea of actual buzzing in and then answering the question. Everyone just pushes a button, and then that's your answer for that question, and then it reveals who was right or wrong. The problem was that they didn't change the Jack attack.
Oh, I thought the question format was identical. I thought the whole game was the same format.
It hasn't been like that for ages. The PS3 one isn't like that.
No, the PS3 version is.
You're
right.
matters how fast you answer, but everyone does answer.
Sorry, you're correct. Yeah. It's not the old school You Don't Know Jack format where
you buzz in. Yeah.
The Jack attack was the one remaining problem, but they didn't think of that.
Yes.
And that's like basically the Jack attack is the one bit where
you win the game. It's how you win the game. Yeah.
So it kind of ruined the whole thing.
Yeah. It was a bit of a shame. Didn't really work unless they're just ripping out Jack attack, and even then, like, the latency could be a problem on the scoring to some degree, because it's like it's
still based on speed.
Yeah, the amount of money you got was based on how much time was left on the clock, up or down. So yeah, I hope they mix it up, but in the same way. It's just more funny questions and answers and more scenarios for that stuff. It's all good.
Is there some kind of way they could solve the problem whilst thinking about latency? I don't know what you could do.
Well, the solution is to
removing the timer-based element of the score, whether that kind of oversimplifies it.
Well, the solution is to go the Sony route, and how Sony have been doing these style of games, which is have an app. So you download an app to your phone, like a fairly lightweight thing, so it's quick and easy for everyone to get hold of. Wi-Fi. Yeah, just has a direct connection to your console rather than having it go through the web to do it.
I guess, but then you're running into the much more effort of having to worry about different types of phone and stuff.
Yeah, and I have already.
The whole point of the web thing is because you can load it in a browser and pretty much any phone will handle it.
Yeah,
almost.
So I have already come into a. Well, yeah, it's swings and roundabouts, I think, with this one, because I've come into a situation where. We've all had the situation where the Jackbox web app fails for someone, and it just either kicks you out, goes blank for some reason. Someone accidentally does an action that swipes the screen and causes their browser to go back, kicking them from the game, and then I've got to figure out how to get back in. And yes, the platform has got better over time to make it so players can get back in, but it's still a bit web on phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little bit too unpredictable at times. the app problem obviously gets around that, but I have also seen the flip side of it being an app, in that I've been somewhere where we've a group of us has been like, oh no, why don't we try this That's You thing on PlayStation, which is like a kind of bad Jackbox clone sort of style game on it, where it's like, hey, which of you would be most likely to do this thing? Everybody vote, and if you're in the consensus, you get points. Except it's got one of the most annoying announcers ever, and the questions aren't all that risque or interesting or anything like it. It's kind of naff. It has its moments, but it's kind of naff. But that's powered by an app. And when that suggestion came up to be like, why don't we play it? Everyone was like, okay, right, how do we do this? Well, you need to get hold of the app. And everyone's like, I'm out. Just that step seemed to put a lot of people off. And it's like, well, that's going to be a problem for a game like this. I think it's madness, because if you're in most people have Android and iPhones, right? But so the device shouldn't be a problem anymore, really. But oh well. Anyway, we'll see what they do.
Yeah.
Still good to have You Don't Know Jack back.
Yeah. And the other Jackbox stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll probably be like Fibbage 4 or something,
Well, maybe there'll be something.
Let me come up with some more.
T-shirt KO2 or something.
Yeah. I think they came up with some more good ideas. I don't know how you can really improve TKO. Is the thing. It is what it is.
A lot of the times when they've tried to add onto an idea they already had, like Drawful, it's just made it worse.
Well, Drawful 2 wasn't worse. It was just the same.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the other things that are like Drawful that they've tried to add added mechanics to, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, well, Bidiots is fun in its own way, but
Kinda.
was it the civil engineering, the city planning?
Yeah, the drawing.
The drawing upon drawing game, that didn't quite work.
And TKO is technically just Drawful, really. It's draw a thing, put some words on the thing, and if the combination is, in this case, funny rather than correct, you get points.
Yeah. Sure, but TKO is clever because of its like the randomization of it all. It's like because you're writing everything separately. It's like how they come together. That's the cool part. Jackbox, come on, guys, be good again. Well, you're never not good, but be better. Do we want to talk about Billy Mitchell? Like, I'm feeling like I want to skip this. No, so it's just that whole thing that we've talked about it before. I think where he supposedly used MAME to do his current world record Donkey Kong run. Which he no longer has. He's been stripped of that and all of his other titles over the controversy from not just Twin Galaxies, like the arcade leaderboardy people of note, but Guinness World Records have actually said, yeah, we kind of agree.
Well, it's because the Guinness one was basically based off the Twin Galaxies data, so it's just like...
pretty much, yeah. So they kind of had to, I guess. But then, some Guinness World Records, I think, and especially in video games, are still kind of wrong in places. But I don't seem to remember back in the day, was it like the dumbest one I always remember was like House of the Dead Overkill supposedly having the most swearing in its script. Yeah. Like the most individual swear words. But I guess the key part is like the in its script part, like so it doesn't necessarily include like barks or other incidental sounds, I suppose, or how often that they're said in the game or something. It's like
but they aren't even. They aren't technically ever. They're not actually part of the script of the game in the House of the Dead. I guess. I expect.
In Overkill, they kind of are. Yeah, it's because it's all in the cutscenes or in the VO that plays during the level.
That's the question: is do they differentiate when it's just a word in the typing box?
Yeah. Yeah. I keep forgetting Overkill had the typing of the dead.
As well. Because does that presumably just giant text file count as part of the game?
Yeah, good question. I think you had to download that separately if you wanted to type all the cussing in Typing of the Dead.
I presume that those games had you could basically install custom dictionaries.
Yeah. You absolutely could
put them fire in there.
Yeah, you absolutely could. I think it has like it might actually have Steam Workshop support, like Overkill for that stuff. No, we should play it sometime. I had a copy. And finally, two more things: businessy and legally. Campo Santo acquired by Valve, makers of Firewatch, and that other game I can't remember the name of that's not out yet. Thing about exploring Egypt or something as lady photographers. You remember the trailer? I can't remember what it was called, like National Treasure or something. Featuring Nick Cage.
Well, anything from them. I really liked Firewatch. Would play again once I've forgotten it suitably, which I think I probably have.
The thing is, though, being picked up with by Valve, kind of why?
Yeah. Well,
at this point,
I guess VR, but like they claim that they will continue making games, which obviously they will. Well, not obviously, but I mean they're a game studio, so.
Depends if like how the acquisition works. If they're actually being brought in to be at Valve, that spells danger.
I think
if they're being left as a studio wherever they are, then that's probably okay.
Mm-hmm. But Valve don't have any others. Yeah.
They don't really like all like when they got the Left 4 Dead people. That wasn't really. They claimed that they stayed kind of separate for a while, but then just like that, just kind of casually faded away. It's like, yep, they're just part of Valve now. Whatever they do,
whatever the hell they do,
they're in the machine somewhere. I mean, I assume that's all the same with like the TF and CS:GO and Dota teams, right? They all just sort of they're just
it's
sort
going to have to be a day when they drop something, right? Like everyone's waiting for the day when they drop Half-Life 3, and it's not going to be Half-Life 3, but it's going to be something.
They have claimed that after the lab they are working on
Dota card game.
There's that, yeah. But they have claimed they're working on 3 separate VR games, haven't they?
Yeah.
Whenever they claimed that,
that
was before VR was even a thing. They were claiming that, and it was like,
well, no. I think it was definitely after the lab that they announced that.
Yeah, definitely. Because everyone keeps repeating it.
They always claim that they're working on all kinds of shit that doesn't actually happen.
They also said
happens in like the most minimal way possible, like Steam machines.
Well, and they also said they're working on 3 games, which rule of 3, not going to happen.
Well, they can all happen individually. There just can't be a third one if they're all part of a series.
Well, maybe Valve were making 2 of them, and then they needed Campo Santo to make the 3rd.
Maybe. They did have a press release recently about Steam machines or something, or an update on Steam that admitted that like they haven't exactly set the world on fire. They were kind of almost saying, "Yeah, we know, guys, but like we're still committed to like open platform gaming, not tied to."
Just like maybe this wasn't the time or something. Or...
Yeah, they're not. I think they're still supporting stuff, but it was quite interesting that they said, "Yeah, we know they didn't like they weren't a massive success."
Well, I think as part of the problem was that there weren't that many developers that switched to Linux support, right?
That was just it, yeah. But
most PC stuff is still based on DirectX, and exactly, can't do that on Linux.
Yeah, but they still want to push for a more open graphics platform, I guess.
Yeah, which is, as I say,
good.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a terrible idea overall, but you have got to do more to push stuff out the door. I think Steam machines would have worked better had they just gone full console. Do you know what I mean? And not been done this whole wishy-washy PC world. They were entering a whole world of hurt that, to a PC player, isn't any different from owning a PC.
Yeah.
So like they were like, well, why would I do that? And to a console owner, they're sort of sitting there going, I don't understand this. How is this going to work?
Yeah.
And also, your controller looks funny. I'm out.
Basically.
Yeah. So if they went full console, I think that perhaps there'd be another a sort of higher probability of success.
It's true, but they wanted to try something different, I suppose.
But then maybe that's not an open platform at that point. I don't know.
I mean, is Steam even Steve?
Steve.
Is Steam even in open platform? Not really.
Well, the amount of crap that's on there, one might argue it is.
Yeah.
It's not exactly curated.
No, I guess that's true. Yeah. Well, we'll see what Camposanto do. Hopefully something good.
Well, we've got that Ladies in Egypt game.
Yeah.
That I unfortunately can't remember the name of. And let's talk legal, finally. Both following on the heels of Belgium, the Netherlands have said that loot boxes are gambling, and they have called out 4 games for being technically illegal.
In breach.
So they supposedly looked at 10, but only 4 of those 10 were deemed as, okay, actually these 4 have a problem. They've not been officially revealed, but the Dutch broadcaster NOS has come along and said, yeah, it was these 4 they were talking about. So they've ruled that their interpretation is that if a loot box contains items that are then tradable, then those items carry value because they are tradable. As in, they have a weight in some level of community, right? They have a that's their understanding. So if loot boxes contain random items of random value, then that is gambling. So that's a fairly
broad
decent
definition.
Yeah, well, it's fairly broad, and I actually think it's a fairly decent way of describing it. Those things have value. If they're tradable, then you can argue they have real world value.
Sure,
because the value is assessed by people. As soon as they're tradable. So it's. Do you remember the whole Team Fortress thing?
About,
like how many keys this item is worth, and it's like, so based on where you are, you can figure out the real world value of an item because of the number of keys it's worth, and it's.
But what about like random drops in like Eve or something? Are there? I don't know. If you bust an asteroid apart and it has twice as much.
I guess the difference is you're not strictly paying for that particular event.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the box part that's the problem.
It's the box.
Yeah.
If you were paying to mine an asteroid, and then that asteroid had a percentage chance of giving you better ore, then you might be in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So I guess this means like games like Overwatch, for instance, are not in that category because you can pay for the boxes, but everything you get out of the boxes there's no trading system.
Right.
Everything is your own. So like that doesn't count. Whereas Rocket League and Dota 2 of the games that were mentioned, absolutely count because things you get out of paid loot boxes are tradable.
There you go. Gambling, man.
Gambling. It's a thing. And I can't help but agree with them. I think I'm on that side. I know New Zealand doesn't think they're gambling, and I know the UK is skeptical about it as well.
By weird definitions, though.
Yeah,
this is just that happens that the Netherlands definition lines up with this version. It's like in the Netherlands definition of gambling, these 4 things do, but then another 6 don't.
Yeah,
and then in the UK definition, none of them do.
It'd be nice to know what the 6 that they deemed were. If that's the only reason that they've
given. All the ones like Overwatch and stuff where it's not tradable cosmetic stuff, but it's still a random chance.
Because I imagine what Battlefront everyone must be looking at Battlefront for this stuff, but I guess they've turned off paid loot boxes, so they're not technically
tradable.
And
if that's the main thing that's going to make it into gambling.
Yeah. I suppose the solution is just never build publishers just don't build a trading system, save yourself some money, don't do the dev work, then you don't need a gambling license in the Netherlands.
Well, it's not that they need a gambling license, apparently. It's more like they're just going to have to not allow trade within the Netherlands.
That's what I mean, just don't. Oh, unless you mean do region-specific locking on the games.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like that's probably... But that sounds like that's way more work, right? It's like they don't make...
It depends how much money it takes to buy a gambling license.
There are very few games that are mechanically different based on where you play them.
Well,
like they will have like translation differences, obviously, and like
it's not that difficult to region lock servers or anything because it's not like they don't do that for China in a lot of games.
You can just proxy them.
Yeah, and you could just proxy out of the Netherlands if this turns into a thing.
Yeah,
it's not going to be... That would just be what they do. It'll be like, they've solved the legal problem at that point. If people are proxying it, then that's a different legal situation where they're the ones doing the bad thing.
In the advent of rules like I call into question that simply because of the advent of rules like GDPR, where, yes, those rules technically are only legal requirements in the EU, but countries, the rulings are, the law is so weird around it that it's actually world encompassing. So if countries are doing business, if America does business with EU member states,
that's like all
they
laws.
are now.
That's like all laws in every case, in all international trade situations where you have to abide by the other country's laws as well for your one specific purpose, which is why they have to worry about the fact that the Netherlands says they're gambling. They have to do something about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that gets them out anymore. I think this precedent is the problem, that you could legally argue that this doesn't get them out of the problem. In a pre-GDPR world or something like that, I probably argued with you, and that's true, but I'm just not convinced that that's the way it's going to fly for much longer. Call me a cynic.
You're a cynic. No.
I think it's more cynical to think that the companies are going to do whatever the easiest, cheapest option is, which is just region locking the trades by IP.
If people are, the cheapest option is to just not put trade in the game, because that means.
Well, no, because the trade is making them money.
You reckon?
Well, because that's the whole reason that you can buy the keys, is to make the money. And if there's no trading, then the perceived value of the keys is reduced, so people buy less of the keys.
Surely, that's the. I guess it works in both directions. Honestly, it's because if you're saying the keys hold real world value and that's what makes them more desirable because of their real world value, then sure, okay.
Well, I'm saying that people wouldn't be.
But sort of the other side of it is that trading stops you from needing to have to buy things because you could just trade dupes away.
Yeah, but it's not to do with how many you personally need. It's to do with how much profit can you make. People who are buying keys and loot box gambling are trying to make profit out of the gambling system.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean now. Yeah. Do you really think that's true? The majority of the loot box economy is based on that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's the majority, but it's a matter of there's that layer that therefore makes things perceived to have more value. Even if
money goes in because it comes across as exploitable, you mean? Because people can run CS gambling.
I mean, there's that, but it's also the perception of if someone who hasn't really participated in any of these systems before is just looking at it, then when other people are saying this one skin is worth this much money, and then the other person then goes to open a loot box and gets it, they perceive that as not just being rare, but it's also rare and super expensive.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
And that might encourage them, if they don't get it, to buy more keys if they weren't going to before.
I guess it's the lottery theory, right? People play the lottery just because the payouts are so big, even if the probability is so low.
Yeah.
So at a certain level, gambling just does increase the perceived value of every item, even if it's not something you're personally going to get involved with trading.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Convinced.
So, yeah, they don't want to get rid of that extra layer of potential money.
I wouldn't be surprised if some... I hope some don't take that direction.
Well, at the moment,
I hope they just take trading out, and
it's just gotten so ridiculous that everyone's going to be not doing any loot boxes for a while, at least, just a little while.
Oh, let's hope. But there are so many news items about how much the loot box economy is worth this year. Was it 32 billion or something ridiculous?
Yeah.
In loot box sales alone that we know about. Which is bonkers. Because that sounds like that must be a bigger number than the amount of actual friggin' game sales.
Well, Ubisoft said it was. They said their microtransactions were worth more than the actual game sales.
Oh, that's crazy. We are the problem, people. We are the problem.
We are the world. But it's the whales, isn't it? So-called whales.
Yeah.
The idiots that spend loads of money on microtransactions. The 1 in 100 or whatever.
Yeah, the 1%. You are the 1%. I don't know the last time I actually bought a microtransaction. I don't know if I ever have a
I've never.
microtransaction.
I don't think I have ever.
You never actually buy a TF2 key ever?
No.
No.
I mean, I've been tempted to buy Rocket League keys, but then the probability of those spinners, as proven by the decryptors, has never worked in my favour. Like, yeah, although I haven't had that many spins, but it's like £2 for a chance that I'll get hold of something I can't use.
Yeah,
is not all that appealing.
At least in Fortress, it was always something that you could use.
Yeah,
even if not specifically for a class you liked.
Yeah. You'd still use it. Yeah. I think that's the thing where it's not so bad weirdly it's not so bad in games like Overwatch and stuff like that, because like the majority of in both TF and Overwatch, the majority of the classes are fun to play. And there's kind of a need for you to be good at a great range of people, because people are going to pick the guy you want half the time, so you need to be someone else. And so it's helpful that you get stuff for everyone in some ways. Although screw Doomfist, can't play that guy. He's rubbish. He's rubbish. I can't play as him. Yeah, cool. Loot boxes. I don't know what this means for was it the ESRBs? It doesn't affect them at the moment, but they're super lame. How's in-app purchases? Yeah. It's like if this does actually become a thing, do they actually have to put on the box? It's like, how's gambling? Want something in it?
Yeah, but they can't do that though, because that's a whole different rating. That was the whole point of that situation, why they had to come up with the other new thing.
It would force it to be an 18 cert, but then a lot of AAA games are 18 cert anyway.
Not that many.
No,
really?
Not really.
Yeah, it's 15.
A lot of them are team.
The Call of Duties of the world will have to go that way.
Are they? Is Call of Duty 18 rated?
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, maybe they've reduced it. I thought it's one of those games that I think should be, but it might be 15 rated. Thinking about it.
How many Call of Duties can you reach from your couch?
So the most recent one I have was Advanced Warfare, and that's 18 rated.
Oh, fair enough. Yep. Okay.
So I guess that's what would ultimately happen. They just get a harsh rating. Or you need a gambling license if you're Dutch.
Yeah, but you can't just say it's a harsh rating, because
it's not that harsh. People will just buy them for their kids.
Well, and also because
changes nothing.
Also because
it's not like the old AO rating.
It only works for stuff like Call of Duty because that's already an adult game. If it was if you were talking about, I don't know, if you were talking about Plants vs Zombies and that had to be an 18 rating because it had loot boxes.
That would be bad. Yeah, if Garden Warfare 3 comes out and it's a loot box nightmare and it has to get slapped with an 18 plus or something. What a disaster that would be. But even something like Star Wars, one might argue probably has quite good kid appeal.
Yeah, I think you could probably get away with Souls being a 50. You're shooting each other, but you're not there's no blood and lasers. You just die from mysterious laser death.
I mean, I don't even those games at least don't even have the whole cutting people in half with lightsabers stuff.
I doubt that's even a 15 Battlefront 2.
No, I reckon they could get by with a 12, maybe, but they might have to put one of those weird stickers on it that says, your online experience may be salty.
May differ. Yeah, maybe salty. Yeah. Saltiness guaranteed.
Drink lots of fluids. Doctor's warning, salt. So they put a red food tag on the bottom of the...
Yeah, 100% salt.
100% salt. Well, actually, I'd probably go a bit more than that. I'd probably say it's 300% of your daily recommended intake of salt.
Sodium chloride.
Well, that would depend on what the portion size was. How long do you have to play this game before you get your recommended daily intake of salt?
True. They have to put a little label saying based on a 60-minute dosage.
Yeah. It's about 5 minutes in total.
Yeah.
One game is 400%.
Your recommended intake of salt. Yeah.
Oh man. That should totally be a thing. Like, if no website is putting that up, some website should put up like some kind of food recommendations list.
Saltiness of games.
Yeah. What other like stats could be there? Salt is the obvious one, but I mean, could a game that's over padded have a fat content rating? Like,
yes.
Caution, filled with saturated fats. Maybe don't play Japanese RPGs. High saturated fat content.
They're very fatty.
That'd be more like fiber, though.
What grinding is like fiber.
Yeah, it's just like a bunch of nothing.
Okay, I guess. What, and you feel less for it afterwards?
It's like, it's not technically bad for you unless you eat a whole shit ton of it.
A shit ton of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, yes, that's all food. Just fiber seems more bland than fat.
Fat can be pretty tasty. And again, onions are fiber. Or fibrous.
A lot of things are fiber, technically.
Onions are pretty tasty. I can't. I've got no more to work with on this.
Food Game Standards Agency.
Food Game Standards, yeah.
Ratings.
The FGSA.
That's the news. Ba, 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 ba. And now
We should be careful not to call it the Food Agency of Gaming Standards.
I suppose. But that would be quite an odd way to arrange the letters.
Yes, it would. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It is time for what you've been playing, where we discuss what we've been playing. So what have we been playing?
What have you been playing?
Well, I bought a PS4, so I've been playing Uncharted 4 and Gran Turismo, and that's it so far. But I've got
Sport?
Wipeout on order. Yeah, GT Sport, because I got to the counter and they were like, "You get a free game." And I was
really?
like, "Oh, really?" Because I went to Argos to get it, because I was like, "Well, I don't want to get it delivered to my work because it's probably huge and it would be annoying to get home. I don't want to do it delivered to my house because no one will be there to pick it up." And then I realized that I can walk to Argos from my house.
Nice.
And yeah, they only had a white one, so I got a white one, which is
In
quite
Pro.
nice. Yeah, a Pro one.
Clearly the Pro.
Yeah, and they didn't have they didn't have Wipeout in stock, but they had Uncharted 4, which I was wanting to play. So I bought that, and then I went to the counter, and they were like, "You get a free gift game." I was like, "Oh, really?" Because and I looked on the little screen, and I thought, well, I could have got Shadow of the Colossus off there, but they had GT Sport on there, which was like twice the cost, like price or whatever.
Yeah. Play
And I was
the
like-
value game.
And I was like, well, I'm probably not gonna. The thing is, Forza or GT Sport, I'm probably never gonna play to death. I'm probably gonna
No.
dip into, and it's like it's a lot of money to pay for something you're gonna dip into. But if it's free, effectively, then sod it. So yeah, I got that, and I've only driven around once, but it's got a nice driving model. I got irritated at the presentation immediately, of course. So
How much smooth jazz?
I could not find a way inside the game, like when I was in the race, from the menu to turn off the music. So I had to quit all the way back out and turn the music off in the game and turn the jazz way down. But I kept it on a couple of notches in the menus.
Actually sounds all right, like having a little background bit of weird fusion.
Yeah, that was fine. But I don't want it in the actual game. When it started playing stupid guitar music along with driving around a track in time trial mode, I was like, wait, no, turn it off. And then
Yeah, because it's not like a proper licensed soundtrack. It's not like it's good music.
No, it's not good. It's not like Forza where it's like Daft Punk's playing in my house or something awesome. Yeah.
You say that, but that stuff's not been in the main Forza series for a while.
Right, that's all gone, I guess.
Forza 5 had like terrible orchestral stuff.
Right, okay. Well, anyway, managed to turn off the music. But yeah, that seems good. And I quite like the fact that there aren't like 50 bazillion cars in this game and that it's a kind of a stripped down Gran Turismo. because that's all I really need is a kind of circuit racer. Although I'm not sure if I wouldn't actually have more fun playing like F1 2018 or whatever, because I don't know, speed.
Yeah.
But
those F1 games are really variable these days.
Yeah, it's Codemasters, isn't it? Whereas this one, obviously,
but it's definitely not their 80.
No, that's the thing. So, but I remember playing one a while back that I got in a Steam sale that was really good. An F1. I think it was. Oh yeah, that was particularly good. I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
it was.
They seem to alternate. Like some of them have a good year, some have a bad. Some of them will have like stupid glitches with the pits.
Right.
And things like that, where other your teammates will wait for you, or it will force you to wait for the AI to be done with pitting around you, just so you don't crash into them and break the rules or something like that. They've had some really stupid stuff in those games, but they always look kind of great from the outside.
Yeah, it's the thing. Gran Turismo obviously looks pretty good.
You know what? Sorry, go back to F1. I was thinking, the cars this year have those silly halos,
right? Yeah,
around them. Well, they're not silly; they're for safety and all that. But it's like if you're one of these people that plays like a lot of F1 gamers do, they play it with that in the camera that you would normally see on telly, that sort of elevated camera position.
Yeah, the one above and behind.
That's not nearly going to be as interesting because you're just going to have the halo ring there now,
right.
Like in this year's game or whichever one is next. It's just going to be like, well, you can't actually see properly unless they put a nice option to say turn the halo off. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. It's kind of, they're ugly.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a bit weird. Like it was also weird having the like the Kers and DRS stuff. It was a bit weird in the game, but I mean it worked. I mean it was quite cool. It was quite video gamey, obviously, having like a boost button, but also it's just a little bit strange.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, but anyway, so I haven't played much Gran Turismo, but I will update you when I actually get some going. But it seems good so far.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know what you think. Like, given that it's highly simplified collision model, like it's like the GT argument we've always had. It's like the handling is great, but that collision model has always been hyper simplified.
I mean, that might well still be true, but it might be that like I don't care about that because I'll just like try and beat my own times in time trial, basically. Just handling me in the road is probably better than racing.
I was thinking about it, and there is a logic to it in GT Sports case. Like normally I would be kind of anti it, but the more I sort of sat and thought about it, it's like, oh, actually having a simplified collision model and a penalty system means that you wouldn't be able to get Frenched.
They just have a super harsh penalty system, right? Where everyone gets penalised if there's any touching, right?
But it means like if you were to like try and get pit turned by someone, it's like you as the victim, it doesn't work, right?
No, it doesn't work
because that model doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the idea. Just none of that bullshit is the idea.
Yeah.
So
whereas obviously that's a very real thing in Forza because you can do it, but there's no real penalty system for it.
Yeah, I think
it kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a shame if you just touch someone and you've just made a mistake and you've got penalised heavily. But I think it's worth the price.
But that's kind of the point. Though.
It's more like reality, isn't it? Because if
exactly.
you just touch someone in Formula One, it's going to be a bad day, isn't it?
The other solution to this whole problem is if you make the collision model good enough, it penalises it for real rather than having to make a fake penalty for a bad collision system. Like if you collide and it actually does damage and fucks you up in a realistic way, then that's the actual penalty of collisions.
I mean, that's fine, yeah, but there's still the being the victim is the problem with a damage-based system because you can. I mean, yes, that's true of real racing too, sure. But nobody likes being the guy to get slammed even by accident. And I get it's just easier to make those mistakes in video games unless you've got like a proper big rig, a proper steering setup and things like that. It's people playing with a controller are just naturally going to have a harder time avoiding that. Maybe that's not true, but that's how I envision it. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, games have done that for sure, but I don't. I don't even know if Forza really has like damage mapping turned on for the race, and I guess also part of the problem with it is there's no, because like most racing games don't have any sort of persistence to them. There's no sort of like benefit to just finishing the race if you're damaged, unlike where there is in like normal racing, because there's there might be a chance of you still getting points or something like that, or you can't pit and fix yourself in a video game or something like that because the races aren't long enough, and it's you want there to be a point to carry on if you're put into that situation by someone else's bad driving. But yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult problem to solve because it's the realistic approach is annoying in many ways, even if it might be the fairest.
Well, I'll see how I go anyway.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. Interesting.
It's nice that like I like that there's fewer cars as well, because like they're all, you don't have that problem that like half the cars are from the PS2 era or whatever, and have been
right. Yeah, they haven't got the premium or whatever they call it.
Yeah, no, they're all premium, so which is good. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I know that's what GT goes for in its mainline games, and it's like, you know, it's like, oh, you can drive whatever you want because we've got everything.
It's kind of weird.
And it's like, but that's, as they've proven, it's a sort of unattainable goal for them now. Yeah, and it's just stick to some nice cars. Like have stuff from every category, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to have every car ever made. No. I don't know if anyone really wants to drive a Fiat Multipla.
No, but I bet it's in Gran Turismo mainline, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, so performance cars. So that's cool. Yeah, so I'll report back on that. And then the main game I've been playing is Uncharted 4. And yeah, I mean, I haven't had a mainline console. Obviously, I got the Switch, but that's the first console I got since the 360, I think. And then this one is obviously a bit more, considerably more powerful than the Switch, and it just looks ridiculous. Uncharted 4. I don't know. It's obviously it's running at 30, but I put on the like super sampling mode for which, so I presume it renders. I don't know if it actually renders it at 4K 30 and then super down samples it, or whether it's somewhere in between. I
think most of the PS4 stuff, when they say like go into 4K mode or resolution mode or something, it's like there's very few that actually get up to 4K.
That's what I thought. Yeah, especially,
but it still makes a heck of a difference on a 1080 screen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, it looks amazing, and the amount of detail in the environments is ridiculous. And the obviously it's a linear game, so it's like a showcase, and it always has been. It's like Uncharted 2. It's basically like Uncharted 2, but 2 generations. One generation on? When was Uncharted 2? Start of PS3.
Yeah, they're all PS3s, aren't they?
Yeah, so just one generation on, but like, yeah, this is quite a number of years, and it looks, ridiculous. And the motion captured performances and stuff for not just, obviously, I mean, they're mostly in cutscenes, but also it translates really nicely into the actual gameplay, of course, in a traditional Naughty Dog style where it blends really nicely. But I mean, the motion capture stuff is top notch. It's like, it is the best in the industry, I think, for sure. I suppose there's those weird adventure games, aren't there? Well, you know, like the Heavy Rain people or Polyphonia.
Sure, but even then, I wouldn't. Polyphonia is the GT team.
Sorry, who do I mean?
Quantic Dream.
Quantic Dream,
who do those? And yeah, for sure, they've had pretty impressive tech, but it hasn't always translated into looking very impressive when actually put through their game engines.
That's the thing. Yeah, this looks like fully realized. Like it looks a little bit sort of dreamy, and too cinematic almost. Like it almost is like too good somehow, but like the face
overreal, like in some respects, or is it or just Hollywoodized, like too much makeup, or like too clay faces? Because I remember some of the early footage of Uncharted 4 when they were like E3 and stuff. It's like the world did kind of look like it was a bit clay made, you know, just that sort of weird. I don't even know how to describe it, like hard mud.
I think that might be true of the environments, but the faces seem good. I mean, the one thing I've been noticing looking at is like stubble on the guys' faces
Oh,
is
cool.
really noticeably good,
Hmm.
like in a way that I hadn't really paid attention to in other games. And like the hair is like good, but not like perfect, obviously, but it's good enough. It's like enough of it has come together in a good enough way that you can kind of think, wow, that looks amazing, and then forget about it and just look at the actual, what you want, the performances of the characters in the story.
There's a general. You mean there's an overall quality level, even if like any one specific thing doesn't necessarily push the boundaries. It's like just because everything is up there.
Yeah. Because it's like LA Noire back then was like the faces looked kind of weirdly amazing because they had that special technique or whatever in terms of the way they moved. But then they were sort of glued onto the characters in a kind of a weird way. It didn't quite blend.
Yeah, the body they had to record the face animations and the body animations separately, so they had problems gelling them together, which looked odd. At times, whereas now that's not a problem. They've got like proper full body capture, haven't they?
Yeah, so that's basically. I mean, that comes across really well. And yeah, so Uncharted. Yeah, I didn't play 3. You did, Rob, but
3 was good. 3 was good in the sense that it was kind of it didn't push anything, but ultimately it wasn't as good as 2, like narratively.
Yeah.
But they did some clever stuff visually, and it was like they definitely pushed their tech beyond what they did in Uncharted 2.
Totally, that desert stuff and the sinking ship and everything. Yeah,
that whole section in the middle of the game with the just how that desert scene looks and how it's shot from a cinematic point of view is really very, very good indeed.
Yeah.
But some of the gameplay stuff was a bit rote at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say they've so far. I haven't really got that stuck into. I mean, I've played plenty of story leading up to, but there hasn't been that much shooting action yet. It's mostly been running, jumping, climbing trees, all that stuff. But that stuff's been, and that was always good. The traversal stuff in Uncharted, right? Like the kind of holding out the hand stuff that works just as well. But
even if it was a little bit climb by numbers,
a little bit, yeah. But still, I mean, spectacular kind of environments and stuff. And like the story stuff so far is like getting going. It's like the brother that you never knew you had and all that stuff, but obviously was around. They introduced that and they kind of justified that quite well. So that's working quite well. So enjoying it. But looks ridiculous.
I do still really, really want to play that game.
Yeah,
like really, really.
I'm glad I got this as like a first. I'll probably, I'll make my way through it and be like, wow, that was impressive, and then put it down and probably won't play again. But that I think it's worth it, and then there'll be plenty of other stuff. So I think I'm in a good position now because I'm looking forward to Red Dead. But it looks like God of War is amazing, so I might have to get that.
Oh yeah, I've been the more I've seen of the new God of War, the more I'm like, okay, I wasn't 100% sure if I'd be in on this. Like, interesting new direction, sure. Okay, but the more I've seen of it, the more I'm just like, this might be a must play.
Yeah, it looks like they might have knocked it out of the park with that one. So
yeah,
so might be too much to play.
yeah. Well, this is part of the reason. This is one of the only reasons I just haven't gone in on PS4. It's just because I keep finding other stuff elsewhere to play. And it's like, don't get me wrong, PS4 looks like it's got one hell of a lineup at the moment. And,
it does right now, yeah.
And some of the upcoming stuff looks amazing as well. But just
Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
And then go back and play Horizon. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
I hadn't even really thought about it until I actually had one in my hands, and I'm like, holy shit, there's tons of stuff to play.
Yeah, it's not a bad system at all.
And the system itself.
If only they bothered to put a 4K Blu-ray player in it.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, that kind of is a bit of a shame. But I mean, I'm just using it with my PC monitor like I did before with my 360, so that wouldn't really help me. But
sure,
in the future, when I plug it into a TV, then that would have been useful.
That might have still helped you, right? You'd have just got because your monitor's 1440, right? So you'd still get a decent quality jump.
Potentially.
Potential.
Yeah. So that's my current progress. I'm getting the Wipeout Mega Collection because I've basically been wanting to play Wipeout for ages, to the point where I was playing that on the PSP emulator.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be good, and then I'll be in a good position to get God of War, etc. when I got time. Oh, and Shadow of the Colossus. Oh man, tons of stuff to do, and I've got to finish the Zelda DLC. So yeah. Gaming times.
Games.
I need to figure out if I do want to do online with the PS4, what kind of, whether I need a more decent headset or something to plug into.
Oh, what you actually want to, like, if you're going to go full on multiplayer, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Get involved with that stuff. That doesn't sound like you.
Well,
I'm going to be honest. I'm just like, from the outset, that doesn't sound like you at all.
I do it with Hywo and David, so they've got a PS4. So I've done that on the Switch with those guys. So I will see if I can do it with them on the PS4.
You play on the Switch
with that crowd. Yeah, well, a bit of Splatoon sometimes.
What? You don't ring me up? You don't call me up to pull your squad? Oh.
Well, no, they've got like a thing. Anyway, never mind. Yeah, there's like a squad. There's like they need an extra guy. Anyway.
Shunned.
Anyway, see if I can get on the PS4 with them.
Would you?
Anyway, yeah, that's what I've been playing. Oh, I haven't played any more Into the Breach really. Just a few more islands, but I haven't tried any new squads yet. So I'll let you know when I'm up on the next one.
Sweet.
So who's next? What you've been playing? Who went first last time? I can't remember.
Well, we normally do Zach because he doesn't get involved with the news that much.
Okay. Well, let's do Zach then.
Went first last time anyway.
Did I?
I think so. I don't actually remember.
Go on then, Zach.
Well, I continued to play Zelda. Got through Zora's Domain again.
In Master Quest mode.
Yeah, in Master. Yeah. Which means I actually have arrows now, which is nice. After I've been struggling with like having to buy arrows from shops, getting through the whole Rito area and all the other stuff I was doing. You just go through Zora's Domain once, and it's like, oh no, I have like 200 arrows. Problem solved.
Yeah, Zora's Domain's pretty useful for that.
And I didn't even. Well, no, I suppose I did kill most of the stuff on the path up to Zora's Domain. I wasn't going to.
There's the bit with all the electric guys, right? Which is actually quite hard even later on in the game because they level up, I think. Do they? Or I don't know.
I don't know whether
maybe not. But there's like water and electric
Well, yeah,
arrows
it's just hard because
constantly.
of the electricness.
Yeah.
Go back there with the rubber armor. Then
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Also, I've forgotten where you get the last part of the rubber armor. It's probably one of the shrines in Farum. I don't remember which one.
Yeah, it took me ages to get the whole rubber set, I think.
It's because it's just like, unlike the barbarian armor, where it's just like the 3 labyrinths and you just get it. It's not quite so obvious in some of the other armors. Like even the climbing armor.
Yeah, the climbing armor is the most important one for me. And like one of them is quite annoying to find, isn't it? It's that one where you have a quest to get it, right? Because it's like you line up the 3 trees or something. Yeah. But you also
I don't know if I got anything other than the bandana in the climbing set, actually. I sort of assumed it wasn't a set after a while. Like well, it's just this one bit. I'll put it on when I climb stuff.
No, it's awesome. When you have all 3, it boosts your climbing speed massively.
Well, and the actual set bonus gives you the massive reduction to stamina in your jump, so you just jump up everything.
Oh, really?
Right.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Is that what it gives you when you have all 3?
Yeah, each part gives you speed, and then once you have all 3 and they're upgraded, then you get the stamina reduction.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice. I don't know.
That's the armor I wear most, to be honest. Like, I know it doesn't give much actual protection, but
well, I mean, it gives you typical protection, not armor protection.
Yeah.
It's not one of the actual armor levels. As always, the trouble is the champion's tunic, where you just want, because that has more armor than everything, but it's not part of any set. Annoying. Yeah. That should have been something they did in the DLC.
What,
make 2 more parts for that thing and make it a full set.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Unless I guess I haven't really got any of the new DLCs armor parts, because some of those are sets, but I don't know whether they will just all be cosmetic, all be like one armor, or whether one or more of those sets will actually count as actual things you could potentially use. Because right at the end you get the classic green tunic or whatever, and that's an actual set you can.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it's still not armor levels of armor.
Everyone just dyes the champion's tunic green, I guess.
Well, I guess you could.
You can dye it?
You could dye stuff in the
Of
dye
course,
shop.
there's a whole shop to it. Yeah. Man, I forgot about that. I never used it.
No, I didn't really use it.
I think I used it one time, but it was just like, it's too expensive. It's the actual trouble. It uses all these crafting materials that you'd rather have for other stuff, apart from certain colours, where it's just like, if you want them to be white, it's easy enough to just get a bunch of milk, buy it from a shop. That doesn't take any time. If you want it to be brown, you're fucked, because everything in there is well expensive.
Could have thought brown would be expensive
Yeah, exactly.
in that sort of world. Just get some mud. Dye it with mud. Should we just grind up some like old grass or something and make some dye out of that?
I actually remember what the brown things were for the dye menu.
A tree.
Try and think of items that are actually brown in that game, and that's maybe why it isn't awkward, because you can't actually think of very many.
Boko clubs.
Not weapons, it's crafting materials.
Brown? Wood. Sticks.
Yeah, I'm not sure wood counts.
No, but I suppose the sticks are weapons as well.
Just leather from cows, right?
You don't get leather from cows, you only get meat.
Yeah, but you can't actually. But in theory, you could get leather from cows in Zelda.
Yeah, but that would be for dyeing. That would be for making leather clothes. That's a different thing.
Right,
Aren't some
they'd
of the
already be
lizards
brown.
Quite brown.
Yeah, I think maybe one of them might have been the brown lizards, which again don't necessarily want. They're quite annoying to get, and you don't necessarily want to use them for dyeing because they're for speed potions.
Nuts.
I don't know if nuts were.
I know, but they're brown.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that.
Speculation.
Yeah, I don't know what. Like now that I've done Zora's Domain, it's just like guess I'm just going straight onto Death Mountain. Because obviously you don't do Garuda until last because of the whole being annoyed by assassins constantly. That's another thing that you would have hoped that they could have been something that they could have fixed in the DLC. That should have been that should have just been part of the champions. I mean, I assume it's not, but because I haven't actually seen it yet.
Defeat the
that you do some other step beyond the end of the. To undo the constantly getting screwed by the Yiga Clan thing.
They are very annoying.
I hadn't actually experienced that at the point I got to in the game yet.
Because you'd only done it, you hadn't continued to exist in the world after that point.
Not long enough, apparently. Yeah.
Like when that first started happening, it was just the archers, but now I'm just getting the big guys all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh, really? The big guys? Mm.
Yeah, well, they're not as hardcore as they are in the...
Yeah, they're slightly weaker versions of the big guys.
Oh, okay.
But then you get the big guys and you get multiple archers at once instead of just singular ones.
That's annoying. It just means I have a million of those wind cleavers now.
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe the only good thing.
Yeah, but they look the kind of the sheath for the wind cleaver looks really weird. It's like sort of furry.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't like it on my back.
It's
you don't want a furry back.
Just kind of hope that there would have been a way to stop that from happening eventually. Even just in the base game. Some kind of toggle that you could do. Some kind of extra sub-quest. Because that is definitely...
Yeah, I mean, it would be weird if it was actually toggleable. Or perhaps there's an armor set you could wear. Or some earrings or something that could
repel them, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just a very specific food recipe where it gives you a buff that's like the anti-Yiga buff.
Yeah, there's something that is the antithesis of banana.
Yeah.
Or maybe you just have to never carry any bananas, and then they won't bother you.
Then they can't find you.
Oh, that would be great actually. If it's just like if you've got a banana on you, you're in trouble. That would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, that would make sense. Weirdly,
Yeah.
in the dumb logic of the Yiga clan. But yeah, and then I was also thinking about when I'm going to have to do that bit in Master Mode. I was just like, is there really no other way that you can get past that? But there's not really, because you have to get the Thunder Helm.
Yeah, you do.
Which is
Yeah.
in the hideout. And I assume if you like climb up on top of the arena and paraglide in, there's no way you can open that door from the back, right? You can just skip the whole base by knowing that you can come in from the rear.
Nice.
I assume.
No, I assume it's blocked off by something.
It's
Yeah.
bound to be, yeah.
Because I don't like the last door that you open to get into the arena is just magnesis, right? It's just that one hidden panel in the wall that you have to magnesis open.
Mm.
Well, I mean, when you get there, you're gonna have to try this now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on it because I'd rather not have to go through all that shit. Although, again, as I said, I theoretically still think the just shoot you in the face with electric arrows should still work in Master Mode.
Yeah,
You just
probably.
might need to do it a bit quicker.
Is there any route to get to that part of the level, though? Like,
Well, it's because it's an open to the sky, so
Yeah.
theoretically you should be able to get up on the cliffs and paraglide into the middle of the arena, and then.
if the cliffs aren't too tall, or
But there's no
Can
such
climb
thing
it
as something that's too tall. You can always climb everything. And
sure,
do it.
you could just potion your way to the top.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen. Like, what if you jumped into that arena and then did the boss fight first? would it be set up to trigger?
Oh yeah, would you just never have that? Like, would you never be able to go in there because you finished the section technically?
Yeah.
Can you even go back in there?
What if you go there before you have the mission to go
Yeah,
there?
Well, I'm sure you'll find out.
Yeah,
Keep us posted.
That is basically what I want to do. It's like I want to see if there is any way to avoid that whole amount of hassle.
it's one of those few areas where there is actually like these question marks actually could apply, right? There's not many others where it's just like, well, you could just go to the thing and do the thing.
Yeah.
It's like this one's actually, oh yeah, but it's all sort of set up and there's an order to it, and
Yeah, because you have to get the helmet, and then you need the helmet to do the divine beast.
I bet there's
and all
probably
that.
just a door you can't open somewhere, or
Yeah, probably.
just an NPC that stands there going, nope.
Like the guy at the start of Ocarina of Time.
And it would also be nice if, like, well, no, I guess I was going to say you need to get the helmet to do the divine beast, but you don't need the helmet for the divine beast. It's only you have to get the helmet to prove that you're capable of doing a thing, and then the helmet becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's not actually part of, because I was going to say, like, you just wear the rubber armor and then you're immune to the lightning, and that solves the problem, right?
But you don't use
Technically.
it for that, yeah.
No, you don't use the Thunder Helmet for that purpose. And also, presumably, the lightning of the Divine Beast would still do damage, even if you were wearing the rubber armor. It just wouldn't cause the electric shock thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess. Maybe try that as well. See what happens if you're wearing the full upgraded rubber armor set whilst outside the sphere while you're doing the sand surfing and you get hit by the lightning.
Yeah, could you just carry on if you can tank it?
Definitely things to try. But, Death Mountain first, I guess. And then I can cook a shit ton of apples. As
Oh,
I
yeah.
keep saying about that.
And sell them.
I've got like 6,000 rupees at the moment, but I haven't bought the house yet, and I haven't been to the desert, so I haven't done the last Great Fairy Fountain either.
I never figured out where the actual house quest actually was. Like, I did
It
the
is
thing,
kind of out of the way, I guess.
I did the thing with the, obviously the guys that are in whatever that town's called. Can't remember.
Hanno.
Yes, that's it. So, obviously, I think I did the thing with them.
Where you
but then-
trigger the ability to buy the house.
Yeah.
And then, did you actually get around to buying the house?
No, I don't think I did.
Because then that's what actually triggers the second step, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess that guy doesn't leave to do Tarrytown until you've bought the house, does he?
No, because I think I was still saving up for like when I found the last fairy fountain, which is obviously pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Which I desperately wanted. So I just want to be able to upgrade things.
Yeah, get the maximum. Of course, I ran into the classic problem of when, like, because my standard armor in Master Mode has been the Champion's Tunic, because that just has the most armor, and the Barbarian Legs, because I want some might bonus, and then the helmet from the actual armor set, because then I just want some actual armor to compensate for the Barbarian Legs.
I remember. It's weird because you've said it several times now, but I don't remember the tunic having the most. Oh, maybe it was just because it's tricky to upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always just used the armor.
Yeah.
The chunky silver stuff.
It's like if you've got it upgraded to the same level as all the other armor, then it is the most armor, essentially.
Okay, so I could tunic it up with my heavy metal other stuff. It'd be better off.
I did want to wear, because I was thinking, like, which one do you prefer? Do you want to wear the barbarian head thing and the armor legs, or the helmet and the barbarian legs? It's like, which looks less weird?
Probably go with barbarian helmet, I think.
I don't know, because those armor legs do look kind of weird without the rest of the armor.
Sure.
So I was going with helmet instead, because it just does look like you just randomly put on a helmet, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's okay. Then helmet and tunic sounds a bit weird. You got the effort of like really protecting your head, and then you're like wearing nothing.
But yeah,
what's this tunic made of?
You got to have the might bonus. That's the important thing. Whereas, like, technically, the tunic's made of dragon scales if you account the upgrades.
I guess, yeah.
You're pretty much good. But then I ran into the classic problem of upgrading the barbarian set requires Lionel parts, of course.
Yeah.
So I had to go and kill some of them. That wasn't too much of a problem.
Master mode.
One in Zora's domain, of course. Get that guy.
The electric arrows.
Yep. And it even did the thing where I'd, like, pretty much immediately after I killed him, it was a blood moon. And I was like, do I want to go back there and just kill him again? Because I totally could. But I don't think I did in the end. I was like, I've probably got enough. I think I've got enough Lionels for this upgrade level that I'm currently on. So I don't need to do that. And also, because that one specifically is lower level, has a lower percentage chance of dropping the upgrade parts in general. So
Right.
not really worth it. If you go to full-on commit to fighting a Lionel, may as well go for one of the higher level ones. Eat some decent food. And somehow, even though you would have thought I would have already worked this shit out in my original playthrough, I've found better recipes where I'm like, I've actually found combinations where it's like, oh, this guarantees that it's going to be free maximum level buff and a decent time length, and it's made of like fairly common materials.
Nice.
It's like, how did I not find these before? So I've got one recipe that I'm just using over and over where it's like, oh, this gives me a maximum level speed boost potion that lasts 10 minutes. It's like, sweet.
What's that? How do you make that?
I don't remember. I think
okay.
It's like one of the lizards, two of the frogs. I think it might be the Swift Violet plant, and then a monster part, and I don't remember what the monster part is. But I was just like, oh, this actually consistently gives me the maximum level boost. Sweet.
Are the monster parts mostly similar? You just have to pick one that's like the high level part, or is it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what like the modifier is. I think the monster part mostly modifies like the time rather than the strength. Like the parts that gives the potion the effect of the strength modifier.
Yeah,
and then the monster part slightly changes the time, maybe, or the critical chance, possibly. It's hard to tell.
You throw in multiple parts to get like double time, or
well, I mean, presumably. If you stack parts but only use one of the effect, maybe you get a really long time potion. I don't know. I never really experimented that much with the elixirs, because the elixirs are always more awkward to make, because there's not as many options for the materials. It's more of a hassle to actually get hold of all those lizards and bugs and all that stuff.
But how you get hold of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. And I got one more wheel of stamina, so now I have two, and I think that's probably going to be enough. Mainly because I just need to put all the rest into hearts for having another shot at the Master Sword, maybe. If I can, I mean, I'll probably have to go full health and not full stamina, and then I won't have to worry about eating special food, I guess. Although the hearty food is still full heal, so functionally equivalent the same.
Yeah.
Stamina's good though.
Yes, I know stamina's good, but if I'm going to ever have a chance of finishing the Master Sword Trials in Master Mode, I think I'm just going to need the health.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so Zelda.
Yeah. And then apart from that, I mean, I guess played some more of the multiplayer Factorio, running into the same problem that I did the first time, where it's just like, look at the map. here's the bit that I made where everything's nice and straight. Here's the bit that I didn't make where it's all wiggles. You can tell quite easily. Although I've been trying to not worry about it so much and just like play to that style, I guess, sort of.
And what? Try and be wiggly.
Well, not like try and be wiggly, but try not to deliberately like build far away and then just build a straight branch. It's like I'm building nice and close to where everything else is, and like trying to work with what there is and not worrying about like if it's like you need carbon on this belt to make the thing that you're making. Just wiggle and belt through everything else and build underground belts wherever and whatever, rather than what I might normally do, where it's just like clear stuff out and set it up so you can build it straight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not I'm not disassembling and moving stuff around.
It's like, right, what's there is golden. Just build around it.
Yeah, just wiggle an underground belt through everything and hopefully get it where you need it. It has been kind of awkward in some places.
Admittedly, building approach.
Admittedly, there's also some like since last time we actually played multiplayer, there's been some improvements in like stuff you're able to do. Like now that you can have the splitters have filters on them. So if you've got two different things on either side of the belt, you can run them through a splitter and only have one of them go through the splitter. So it's like a filter for the belts without having to worry about arms lifting stuff off one belt to another, or the way you might usually have done it with filter inserters. Now it's just you can build it in line, so that makes it much more easy to just be like, I only need wood, but this belt has wood and another thing on it, so I'll just set up a splitter and filter the wood out.
Nice. Yeah.
The trouble with it is that the wiggle tactics, the wiggle technique is like our base isn't very productive, like not nearly as productive as I'd like it to be, which means stuff like research is quite slow, and it's just like I'm just kind of standing around not doing much. And it's like, what can I do?
Can you be refactoring the base while you're not doing anything?
Well, but the trouble is that like you can't really disassemble anything without it completely fucking everything.
Right.
But then, so like during the time when you've disassembled something and you're rebuilding it, you're basically not able to do anything apart from that. And it's like you kind of don't want to interrupt the flow of the other people, or like even though the research is slow, you don't want to break that. So what it's come to the point where I've sort of started building a secondary base, except not really.
Do all this about I'm integrating into this other society of building, and it's just like, yeah, but I'm also doing my own thing.
Well, the trick to it is that what I've done is like, so we built walls around our original section just because you have to build walls, I guess, and we've not really intentionally, but sort of it's just been happening that we've just been staying inside those walls because apparently no one can be bothered to demolish the walls and build new ones. We've only just now started being like, I need very slightly more space, I'm just going to move this wall slightly further out, rather than doing the logical thing, which would just build new walls somewhere much further away that will work much easier because we've already cleared out some of the edges. But then what I've done is, because we have started reaching the point where some materials, there's new materials that we haven't started smelting yet, and some of the like lower level materials we started reaching the point where our original mineral patches are running out, and like our overall rate of production isn't high enough. So what I've been doing is building new smelters that are serviced by a train station. So my like nice straight, highly productive smelting lines, and then I just run a belt back into the main mess of a base, and just merge that belt into wherever our material lines were.
It sounds a bit like your old approach.
Yeah, so I'm just like this nice new smelting base. Eventually, we can demolish the old smelters in the old base, and then just eventually
we'll build onto this.
Everything will just start moving over this way.
So what you've done there is probably quite a real life approach to migration of this. So it's like, I've made a brand new thing, but we can't just get rid of the old one and replace it. No. It's got to be a smooth transition.
Yes, you just send some variables over to the old bit.
Yeah,
we have your nice new thing, I guess.
Smooth transition.
And also, I mean, I spent some time rebuilding the railways that had originally been built. Because originally it was just like, here's just a wiggly ass railway that goes from point A to point B, and it's just a singular line, and it only has 2 stations. And then I was like, well, in the future we're going to need to run more than one train along this, so I guess I'll just take my robots out there and just use my rail blueprints and just turn it into a proper 2-directional rail system. So that was a good way to spend some time, because time for the future is my plan, not the wiggle plan. The wiggle plan very much fails to plan for the future. Plan for right now and just jam whatever you need in. And also, this is another one of those weird, like, psychological things, I guess, but one of the person that I'm playing with, mainly, is a hoarder, essentially, in Factorio.
Right.
Where it's just like, I don't know, I guess it is just like some kind of psychological thing, but like when you're running a smelting line that's making copper and it's putting it on a belt, and then the belt of copper goes into your base, and then machines pick up from the belt and make stuff. When that belt gets backed up, like your base isn't using more copper than you're producing, that doesn't fucking matter. But that's something that you have to realize. Whereas in our base, you've got like this belt is backed up. I better build a chest and have arms take stuff off the belt and put it into a storage chest, and then when that storage chest gets full, I'll just put another chest next to it. It's just like, why?
So it doesn't matter that your belts get backed up because you're not. If there's no belt space, you can't mine stuff. So it's
but who cares?
It's not like it's. I know, but what I mean is, it's not like there's a downside.
No,
is what you mean. So it doesn't just spill into nothingness. Or
no, you're not wasting resources.
You need a robot cleanup crew or something.
No, you're not wasting resources. Stuff just stops. And I'm just like, there's no reason to have all these storage chests full of stuff all over the place. And of course, it's worse because we're playing modded Factorio, and there's like, so the main problem we definitely have is copper, because like you can smelt copper normally and it just gives you copper. But there's this other recipe where you use the copper ore and then like some stone and some hydrogen, and like it's a more advanced recipe. You get proportionally more copper per ore out of that recipe, but it also produces like cobalt. And cobalt is used for virtually nothing. It's just like used very occasionally. But because of the bonus to the copper production, it's like, well, we obviously only want to use that recipe. It's like, well, not really, because A, we've got way tons of copper patches all around us, so it doesn't even matter how much copper we're using at the moment. And B, millions of boxes of cobalt all over the place.
we've got more cobalt than we'll ever need.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like, we've got more cobalt than we ever need, and we're not running low on copper, so we really don't need to continue to use that recipe that just makes more cobalt.
Yeah. Apply a bit of logic.
Yeah, but that's the way I play that game. Not the.
Is it because the other players aren't so familiar with the end game, maybe, and it's just like, well, we might need all this stuff.
No, I mean we also have the mod that lets you see like. You can look through the recipe tree basically and be like, what is cobalt used for, and basically just see what it's used for. So it's not like it's hidden information.
Right.
You can just look it up. So it's like, yes, they are kind of aware that.
Yeah, but it might.
The cobalt isn't that useful.
But sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you just don't look stuff up.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just a thing of how I like to do things. Also, when I'm attempting not to do maths, there's the other thing that I'm attempting not to do in this gameplay. It's like I could go and load up my spreadsheet and do the actual maths and calculate ratios, but I'll just do simpler. I'll just do vague maths and just do it from the in-game values and try and calculate it in my head, which is less accurate but much quicker and less annoying. I did do the maths for like our power station because it was we realized very early on that for some reason in this map there was a tiny patch of coal that we started with and virtually no coal for the entire rest of the map we could see at the time. It's like, well, shit, this coal's going to run out if we burn it for fuel. But luckily, because it's mods, we've got the greenhouses, so we can just grow wood and burn that for fuel instead. And I was like, okay, we could just like jam down greenhouses until it works, or I could actually just go do the maths and just work out how many greenhouses you need to supply one boiler to make steam out for the steam engine, and then just stamp that down with the robots. Much easier, much safer, because then you're not accidentally going to overload your power system.
Oh, I didn't realise that was a thing.
Well, it's not. I don't mean like overload it by power. I mean overload the power draw and not have enough fuel supply, and then everything just crashes because everything is operated by power. So the classic problem of running electric inserters to run your coal-fired boilers, where if the boilers stop making steam and then the power runs out, then the inserters can't put the coal into the boilers, and then you're screwed.
Okay, gotcha. Everything shuts down.
Yeah. So you can use the burner inserters as backup arms. That's one way to solve that problem, because those run on fuel themselves. Or just do the maths and ensure that you never actually do overload the supply of fuel. So yeah, still Factorio. And I've also still been playing C-Block at the same time on my own save.
What else happening?
There was one other thing. I forgot what it was. Oh, right, yeah. There was a fairly significant patch for surviving Mars. So I went,
Oh, okay.
which solved quite a few of the bugs that I'd complained about originally.
Yeah.
So I went back and played some more of that. Turns out,
Some of the dome population stuff.
Yeah. all the management of, like, now you can turn off births in a dome to stop people from breeding all the time, filling up all the space. So that's good. And also, like, children properly move into the nurseries, and like, if you set the filters correctly, people actually end up in the right jobs and that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, that's nice. Turns out though that they hadn't apparently fixed all the bugs, and I ran into a completely different bug that wasn't. It's not the bugs that I was complaining about before, like all that population stuff, is like mechanical bugs.
Yeah, they're more oversights than bugs.
Yeah. But then I ran into an actual bug where, like, I got to the point of doing the mystery, like the story thing at the end of not really the end game, I suppose, as much as it's still endless.
Yeah.
But I got to doing this story, and there's like a really horrible bug where this mystery is like you have to send supplies out to help this other project. Like some eccentric billionaire wants to help you with his space projects, and if you can spare the resources, shove them in these rockets and fire them up to him.
Mars wasn't far enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well, literally.
Oh, okay.
He's like, I'm building a mining station on Ganymede because I don't know, because I have money, I guess, and I need your resources. So you get these rockets come down and you load them up with stuff and you send them off. And there's also, at the same time, you're doing a research project to help him with science. And like, it seems the way it's meant to work is this is what it seems like, because I can't tell because of the bug. It seems like what you're meant to do is you're meant to do the research. There's 4 different projects and you can choose which one you want to work on in both the research and sending rockets. And it requires different resources in the rockets for each of the different projects, but then the research is you just do the research for each project. And I think what's meant to happen is you're meant to do the research for the project and send the rocket with the materials, and then that project completes. Because one time in a save that I didn't continue because of the bug, it popped up a thing that said this one of the 4 projects is complete, and I was like, okay, good. But then the bug is that for some reason the game doesn't seem to realize when the research projects are complete.
Right.
So you get the 4 rockets. So you say, okay, I want to do this one first, and it sends in a rocket, and you load it up and it sends it away. Then it pops up the thing where it's like, choose the next one, but all 4 of the options are still there. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right. But then you just choose one of the other ones, it's fine, it sends out the rocket, you load it up, it sends it away. Do that for all 4. But then once you've done it for all 4, you send the last rocket away, the dialogue pops up again, and it's like, choose the next one. It's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to choose one of the projects again. And weirdly, I think maybe it's meant to do that as well. Maybe it's not actually meant to complete after the first rocket, because the new rocket that spawns has a different resource requirement. It's like, it's the same resources, but less of them. So I'm like, is it just like a bonus?
Just like a bonus, yeah.
But unfortunately, what actually happens is you select one of those things in the dialogue box appears again, and it like won't go away for like 7 times for no apparent reason. But then when it does go away, infinite rockets just start spawning.
Wow.
And I'm just like, well, that just breaks everything.
Wow, that's pretty great. I thought this was just going to go nowhere, and it's just like, yeah, and you get stuck, and I can't get rid of the dialogue. I had to exit the game by task manager or whatever. It's no, infinite rockets is a cool bug.
Well, I mean, it's not that cool.
I mean, it's game breaking.
Well, still, and also it's not like infinite rockets start coming down. It's infinite icons that tell you rockets are coming.
Oh, so okay, that is like,
because you choose a landing site when they arrive, so it's not like they just start coming down all over the place.
So what if you could can you make them all land though? Could you just go through the list and go?
Well, the trouble is I don't think it stops spawning. it's literally infinite. It's like quarter loop, so the game just lags up, and then presumably at some point it'll just crash when it runs out of memory or something.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
So yeah, that's kind of fucked. So I guess I have to stop playing until the next patch comes out.
Yeah. Well, even if that
even gets,
if that particular mystery will get, or that particular save will get unscrewed.
If they don't break safe compatibility or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to save before the last rocket had landed. I think I've got to save before I started doing the mystery at all. Like after the first dialogue box of the mystery had appeared, but before any of the rockets and research and stuff had happened.
Yeah.
And then I've also got to save like ages ago.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be the necessary point. I think it's like, well, at any point after completing the resources, something isn't working right, isn't it? So
yeah. So hopefully I might be able to continue. Because the annoying thing was I set it up to be like a hard setup. Because there's achievements for doing each of the different mission sponsors, which are mostly countries, but there's a couple of other ones. They have like a difficulty level associated with them, and there's an achievement for doing something specific to that thing. So I was playing with Russia, which is like the hardest sponsor, because they have like low funding and a low number of rockets and stuff. And the achievement was like extract a ton of resources quickly, essentially, which is not really related to anything necessarily. Just Russia makes it hard to have the money and survive to be able to mine the stuff quickly, I guess. So I set it up for that, and I was like, well, this is actually going pretty good. I've managed, I'm sort of, it feels more like I'm clinging on, but it's still working.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with it, and then this bug has completely fucked that save. And I'm like, God damn it. I did manage to get the achievement before the bug killed the save, but I would still kind of wanted to finish that game.
Yeah, it cashed it in at least.
Yeah.
Well, see where the mystery leads, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, finishing the mysteries also has an achievement attached to them, so at some point you're going to want to finish that mystery.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Apparently, the next patch though is the one that's actually going to have less just bug fixes and also content. Because they're adding the ability to... It's really dumb, but like the domes originally, as I mentioned when I was talking about all the bugs and traveling between domes and stuff, they're all separate things, and then the people can transfer between them and stuff. And basically, a lot of the community was pissed off about that because they were like, why can I not just have a residential dome and then like a services dome that people travel to use the services, and then I could then...
Oh, sure, right. Yeah, no one really travelled between domes, did they? They were just like, just everything had to be in there.
Yeah, you had to have a food shop, you had to have this and that, you had to have an infirmary per dome.
Sure.
Well, now they're introducing tunnels, so you can interlink domes, and it will work like how you imagined it would have worked.
Cool.
To a limit.
You can actually make a pleasure dome.
Yeah, so you can essentially just have your residential dome and then a little tunnel that leads to the other
potentially build a Thunderdome.
Yes. So it's like, apparently that's going to be in. And it's like, and then of course the trouble with that, as everyone immediately pointed out, is like, okay, you've done that, but have you thought about how that's going to completely fuck the balance?
How so?
Well, like, the whole like space constraint of a dome where you had to have certain surfaces occupy a certain amount of the space in the dome. Once you get rid of that, it's like you can just have a fully residential dome and then a secondary dome that has the surfaces in. That changes the balance. And
I see.
Because you're not having to, and you're also not like, it's not so much of a difficulty to balance the resource distribution.
Yeah, the design, your plan for designing an individual dome doesn't necessarily become as important because you could just have, even if you don't need so many services, does this mean if you had the resources to just build a mostly empty dome and put the services you need in it at any one time, it's like, that's fine. I'm just going to leave that as the service dome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to fill it right now because then I don't need to worry about planning it.
Because then also if you for some reason don't need as much of one service as you would need for one dome, you're like, well, that dome can then branch onto another dome and I can actually fit more I can basically have like 2 residential domes using just one dome's worth of services.
Yeah.
So it kind of affects the balance of that.
It does.
And also the balance
Depends how expensive these tunnels are, I guess.
Well, I guess. Probably not that expensive though.
No.
The tunnel does occupy one space of space inside the dome, which, that's a slight amount of trade-off. It's a very tiny trade-off, technically. But then there's also the other balance issue of like the ability, like the domes have a central like it's like a mini wonder, I guess you would sort of call it. They have a central point for a spire. Each dome has a space for a spire, and then that spire has like special effects. So you've got like the water reclamation spire where the dome just uses way less water, and then like the medical spire where you don't have to build an infirmary because you've got the spire instead. And so you're saving the space where you would normally build an infirmary.
Okay.
But then like those spires, because they have kind of global effects, how's that going to affect the tunnels? Like, will all the connected domes be able to use the spires, and will like the effect of the spires propagate through all of the domes, or will it not?
I would imagine my first guess would be no.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Except for like with for example, the medical spire, where it's a service that a person goes to use.
Right.
Would that one still work globally for people traveling to that dome to use that service?
I imagine it would have to, right? If the people come to that dome.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
And that, that is a balance thing, because then you could have another spire in the residential dome that's having another effect, but still have the medical bonus of having the medical spire in a different place.
But then you're starting to talk about perhaps SimCity level stuff where it's like, okay, this infirmary is now overloaded.
Yeah. And they did say the one balance thing that they have done is like if you're using a service in another dome, it's slightly less effective in terms of like comfort levels. So there is a penalty
because there's no corner shop.
Yeah, there is a penalty to having people commute.
You can't just wander out and get a cornetto.
So yeah, that's hopefully going to be interesting. And hopefully fix some bugs.
Yeah.
Particularly the one that I ran into.
Yeah. That was quite bad.
Good old game-breaking bugs.
Yeah. Good old.
Yep. And that's mostly it, I guess. We played Rocket League.
Yeah, we played Rocket League. I'm having my usual down phase with it. Although I did play some more today.
What happened was, and I thought about it afterwards.
I did have some technical issues last night, which was
late on,
but yeah.
I guess.
I mean, yeah, the very last game we had some serious packet loss stuff, and I had some more of that today actually when I was playing it briefly.
Like what actually happened was, I thought about it afterwards. We have to make an ancient happy salad reference here and say there was something in that toast.
Oh right.
We stopped. You had toast, and then then we just played shit after that.
We did play real bad after it.
There was something in that toast.
Yeah.
There was definitely something in that toast.
Up to that point, it was good.
I mean, I do try and hold my tongue while we were playing, but yeah, and like we were both pretty bad after that point. It's got to be said. Although I did find I was struggling more than usual for things control-wise, and I was having that problem again today. Like, just like all my old complaints seem to be magnified, like significantly. Like there were definitely times today where it's like I really don't understand how that roll came out of my car, or I really don't understand how the physics of that scenario went that way. Like just more and more of it than I'm used to, and I know they're not. I don't think they're saying that they're changing much, but there's a feel going on that I don't think it's and that could be just technical. That could just be the networking stuff, and that's probably likely, like given that it has been problematic of late.
I mean, I'll always say that I blame your controllers. That is my eternal number one thing, and also it's difficult to even think about how you fix the problem, but like, the whole idea of the dead zones that you can individually change roll dead zone and stuff. I mean, theoretically that might help.
I'd probably have to tweak those.
But it would be such a to me that seems like such a subtle thing. It would be hard to tell.
Yeah.
Like you change the option and not even know whether you've done anything to it at all.
Yeah, I mean I did have a super frustrating one today where it's just like, okay, I very clearly just need to which must be dead. Well, I thought at first it's like, okay, clearly that was a dead zoning thing, but then I really sort of thought about it and was just like, yeah, but I was pushing like right on the stick and it went back. How that can't be a dead zone? There's no possible way that could be dead zoning.
It's like that always. The directional roll. It's not exactly like a dead zone. It's more like a binary dead zone. It's like
Well,
the
yeah, they're
difference
like
between
eight
pushing
directional,
right and
aren't
pushing
they?
backwards.
Yeah, they're like 8 directions, but it's like
But
still
it's not, though. That's
sometimes
the
it still
thing.
feels like so off.
It's like I'm not sure it is 8 directional. Like because
Oh, what, you reckon there's a little bit more finesse to it?
yeah, at least it's because you can do like diagonal rolls, but it's like there's a hard toggle between a forward roll that's diagonal and a sideways roll.
Yeah.
It's like once you go past a certain amount of diagonal, it just turns into a full sideways roll, and that's a completely different kind of roll.
Yeah.
That's where the problem
With
lies.
wildly different momentum, and and it's that stuff I still don't really get on with. Like now I'm doing more air stuff, and I'm feeling more confident about doing more air stuff. I'm still rubbish at it, but I'm getting it's getting to the point where I can pull some stuff off. That using air rolls and how that feels feels bad. It just feels bad. Like I don't like rolling halfway through a flight. It's like I feel like I have to because it's the only way I can get power on some shots. But it's like it just.
Well, I mean, those kind of.
It just the way you move in the air just feels so different. Like after you've been flying for a while.
Well, I mean, the saving the roll
Till late
to the flying is always the trickiest part.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even do that much.
Yeah.
I'll do it occasionally when I just like, because you kind of have to. You kind of have to have already not flown in the way you would fly if you were doing a regular flight.
Yeah.
Like you have to fly to where the roll is going to compensate for what you've just done.
Which is the problem because I know this is a mental problem of mine. I always go for the roll because it's just like to me that's the kick. I've got to do a roll.
I mean,
yes. But then the problem is it's like because I can't judge that air momentum of the roll very well, I'll always be slightly off in some weird direction that I don't quite expect, or the roll will slow me down and stop me so I'm like inches in front of the ball rather than in its path. And it's I just can't get a grip of it.
Yeah, I don't think air rolls are that necessary. Really. The thing that I still don't do, which is like when I occasionally do it and remember, is just like you fly up to hit a ball, you generate a lot more power if you're still boosting when you hit the ball. Because a lot of the time you'll fly up and just be like, doink, and but if you continue to boost as you're hitting the ball, that actually generates surprisingly large amounts more power than you would otherwise. I kind of forget about that.
Even if you're not necessarily moving much faster, like physically.
Yeah, because you've already reached max speed or whatever.
There's something in the game about just being boosting.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Interesting.
I kind of always forget that. But, that in itself makes it harder to aim, of course, because you're continuing to boost, and that's it's still affecting your direction, even if not your speed. But, it's still... It's just like...
Still is what it is.
It's one of those things where it's just like, it's impossible to actually... Well, or I think it's impossible to tell someone how to do it.
Yeah, I know.
You just have to continue to play until you naturally discover how to do it.
Yeah, you watch stuff and then watch things like that, and it's just like that never works like that. Like when you see people doing the dribbling stuff, and it's just like, and then you give it a go, and it's just like, no, the physics just doesn't work. How is that? How are you doing that? Like I've tried, like that little flick a lot of people do at the end of a dribble, just to be like it sends it upwards and in a different direction. I've never got that to work any direction other than trundling along the bloody floor in front of me. It's like, how does that work? How do you do that? It's like it never flicks. Physics of that game.
Because really, the prime example is like blocking a ball point blank between two cars, or that primarily that's just the prime example is kickoff, timing the hit, and because you see how my kickoffs do one of three things now. It either stops, it trundles slowly sideways, or it trundles fast sideways. Very rarely does it do anything apart from those three.
Well,
and that's just a thing that I've got the feel of after playing for such a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and mix it up every now and then, but yeah, if I do my usual strategy, you end up with the same thing. The ball normally goes on the rare occasion. Well, I say the rare occasion, it works in both ways. You'll get one of those diagonal kickoffs, so it's just like, well, that's still going into no man's land. It's not actually that useful. But I get a lot more of the ones where it actually bounces off awkwardly into their midfield, so it will come off at a sort of diagonal angle, hit the wall, but be still in the air, sort of roughly towards the goal.
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting what I need to do to get more of those of late.
Yeah.
And it's like that, and that's been working out quite nicely.
But that's one of those things where it's like there's no way to tell someone how to do that because it's such it's like a tiny amount of time.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is by feel.
Yeah. I mean, I need whatever it is. That's definitely what I've got wrong in air, and because we've played this game for so bloody long, I've learned some bad habits somewhere. Like because I just can't get that. I just cannot gain height as fast as anyone else in the game.
Yeah.
I just cannot do it, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I really don't. I've tried all the technique. I've tried the thing it suggests, like doing the awkward thing of boosting and jumping at the same time and pulling up and doing it. But then I end up with a different problem that because you're boosting and jumping at the same time, you tend to get too much forward momentum and then screw that up. And then it's...
Well, yeah, I guess the only way to compensate for that is to jumping up fast from stationary is the hardest thing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. and the unfortunate, like when we're playing with both you and Kips is a lot more aggressive than either of us, and so I'm often left at the back, and I'm not a very good back player, like at all. I'm much better when I'm being aggressive, or just being a nuisance. That's where my talents lie. Oh no, the duck alarm.
The duck alarm.
Crap.
Did you play anything else apart from Rocket League?
I need to talk about Rime.
Oh yeah.
I played through all of Rime on Xbox One because it was something else in the Game Pass list I could have a go at.
Yeah.
It came fairly highly recommended by Easy Allies last year, so I was like, all right, I know very little about this. Let's check it out. So Rime is I guess you'd call it a adventure puzzler sort of thing. You saw me play the first hour or so.
Yeah.
It's sort of an adventure puzzler, sort of bit platformy. You ran around as a kid that bears somewhat of a resemblance to Team Eco stuff.
It's just because he's got a cat.
Just because he's a kid in a cape and a toga, sort of thing. Yeah. You sort of wash up on an island. You don't know anything about how you got there. You don't know the setting at all. You're just there. Here, make your way through it. Find this spirit fox thing. Find block puzzles. Find the door that someone's knocking on. Find line up these objects with your vision to make them come real puzzles. Fairly standard stuff. And in fairness, throughout its runtime, the game doesn't necessarily break out of that mold particularly much. It's like I never thought any of the puzzles were all that complicated as you go through. They're not. No one part is that difficult to solve. There were a couple that you get like halfway through the puzzle and you're like, okay, can I do this now, or is this something I come back to? And for the most part, you can always do them now. Some of the stuff we saw at the start of the game, especially that we looked at and were like, that's got to be something you do later. I've got no clue what this is, but it looks suspicious. No, there's a way of dealing with that at that point in time, and the game is quite linearly structured and doesn't really allow for much backtracking. So if you're suspicious of something, top tip: try and figure it out while you're there. This is only not true when you get to Area 3. Where basically the whole level is almost one big elaborate puzzle that you do in stages, and there's an order in which to complete it, but it all sort of comes back around on itself and things like that. So especially towards the latter part of that. So don't stress yourself about the latter part of Area 3.
So if there's not much backtracking, then what about the collectibles?
You've got to replay the area. And those areas are pretty big. There's 4 main areas.
When you replay them, is it just does that imply that you're resolving all of the puzzles as well?
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
You've got to literally replay the area and work your way through it as you did the first time, but find the stuff better, I guess. Which is a bit. It does have a stage select once you finish it, and that you can go back to the start of the areas. But as I said, these areas are pretty big. They're a couple of hours long each. So if you want to go back and do the collectible run, honestly, you're probably going to want to use the guide, and because there's a good chance you're going to miss some of them. Some of them are really well hidden, Like it's actually quite a large area in the first stage that I just totally missed. And it's like, well, it's not that large, but it's, you know, I sort of knew it was there, and I sort of figured you could probably get there, but I just couldn't work out how the first time. And I did go back to it, and I did have another little look through the first area, and it's like, oh right, yeah, there's a whole secret route here that leads to this other area. Oh, and there's some achievement. There's an achievement thing over here as well. Oh, and there's this other thing. Okay, great. There's like all of it is optional, but it's quite a large area of optional stuff. But anyway, yeah, all of that in some respects fairly standard stuff. Like it's not got a bad look to it. It's sort of cribbing from The Witness a little bit, I think, in terms of its like color style, and as I said, I think it's cribbing from Eco in terms of some of its animation and presentation in places. The soundtrack is quite impressive, I thought. It's all sort of melancholic cello mostly, but it does cool stuff like when you're progressing through the game, it will sort of feel like it organically swells into action. It never feels like there's a hard cut into like a sting. It sort of does a really good job of making it feel like a single constant piece of music that you're adding to by your actions. So it's really good at that. I think there are definitely some presentational highlights as well, where it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is really quite nicely done. However, Xbox One version does have performance issues. Like their frame rate is choppy throughout. I've seen footage of the PlayStation Pro version, which isn't nearly as bad. Makes sense. PlayStation Pro version, right?
Yeah.
And I think that version actually runs at near a 60 rather than the sort of capped 30, but doesn't quite make 30 that you get here. So that was mildly distracting at points. But that's, I mean, other than the puzzle difficulty, those are only my only real complaints with it, and the sort of lack of backtracking thing, and it's what it's trying to do. However, that last bit, that bit about backtracking and that bit about the linearity of the game makes total sense when you finish it, because I had no idea what that game was about until the end. And when it pulls the rug out from under you, and it was all like, "Hey, this is what this is about. This is what you've just been through means." That is a pretty powerful punch, and I was not prepared for it. I was not expecting it, and it's pretty great. But you have to play the whole game and get there. It's a good finishing move. It's really strong. I think some people will. I really don't want to say what it is, because it is the point of the game.
Yeah,
it is 100% what this thing is. But I think some people will peg what it is. There are clues, there are things, and I thought it was just padding out the world story. It's like, it's not. There is a deeper level to it all, and it's clever. It's very clever. And none of this is narrative. There's no words in the game. There's no spoken delivery. You will get like static image cues here and there. You will get murals on walls. And even the collectibles play into it a little bit, hint, hint, about what's going on. And it's where it ends. Mighty clever. Mighty clever. I really appreciate what they've gone for there.
Not done like Witness.
Not somewhat, weird and self-centered like The Witness. It's
not the real ending.
Not the real ending is pretty weird.
The regular ending is done.
Yeah, the regular ending is just meaningless. In the regular Witness, just I'm flying into space.
I watched a speed run of the Witness.
Oh, really?
To the elevator, not to the full ending.
Okay, yeah.
And that's like 14 minutes. Here's something I didn't know about the Witness. You know how on the statue at the top there's the box with the panels that flip off every time you do a laser.
Yeah.
Turns out,
and the other edge.
And the other edge, yes. Yeah. Turns out that triggering any one of the environmental puzzles counts for one of those panels. It unlocks part of the box.
Oh, really?
I didn't even there was no reason to think that.
You'd never know that, would you?
just in the speed run.
So does that mean you can't? Yeah, you basically just don't have to do one of the areas, or you don't have to trigger.
You don't have to do all of them anyway. But
yeah, but you can skip a whole laser that
Yeah,
you would
'cause
otherwise needed.
in the speed run, he runs up there and then does the river puzzle, and that unlocks the last thing.
Oh,
on the
interesting.
box to get in there.
That's the quickest one, is it? To do the river
Because
there?
you're already at the top of the
Yeah.
hill. And of course, there's the bit that I kind of forgot about, but already knew, that you can snipe some of the puzzles.
Oh yeah. If you're super
'cause you
precise.
can do them from far away.
Yeah.
Like you skip, he goes to the door, the entrance to the Tetris swamp, and I'm like, what's he doing here? That can't possibly be a fast zone. Except you can snipe the back door to the Tetris swamp from the front, and then just walk up to the laser.
Oh wow. Smart. That must require some quite precise
Yeah,
control.
it's incredibly tiny.
Yeah, must have to set your sensitivity pretty low.
So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, so Rime, recommend, but see it through.
Mm.
It's possibly a little longer than it needs to be, but again, that's kind of the point narratively. Yeah, cool thing. The only other thing I read that's probably worth touching on then is I finished Super Metroid.
Yeah.
That game's pretty cool.
Yes.
Uh,
And now you understand the story of Metroid to some extent, I guess.
well, I mean, I don't really.
Well, you understand what, like, the whole... Well, I guess you don't understand the whole story of the Metroids. You understand, like, the middle story of the, like, where the space pirates get Metroids from, and like, why
Sure.
Ridley is a thing.
Well, I don't know why. Ridley's just there.
Well, yeah, he's just there, but that's why he continues to be a thing. That's why Meta Ridley was
I
such a weird...
thought you killed Ridley, though. He sort of explodes.
But then when you come to Metroid Prime and you see Meta Ridley, and you're like, what the fuck? How is he still there?
Hmm.
And then later on, when you're in the Space Pirate bases, you can scan the thing where it's like they tell you about how they rebuilt Ridley after the Zeus incident.
Sure, but that's not learning anything new.
No, but it's part of the story.
Yeah, they explain more of it in,
Well,
in Prime.
I
than they
mean,
do.
of course they don't explain much in a 16-bit old ass game.
Yeah.
It's not like there's dialogue. But it's all tied together. It's like it actually is a continuous thing.
Yeah.
It's not like Metroid Prime was we're just using that character and making a new universe. It is actually a sequel.
Even if the thing I understand the least is the whole mission complete thing, it's like, did you really complete what you set out to do? I think you didn't.
Well, what did you set out?
Well, you were trying to get the stolen mini Metroid back, weren't you?
Well, I don't know if you were necessarily trying to get it back. It's like you didn't want it to fall into the wrong hands, maybe.
I guess, because it was learning. Well, yeah. Well, you definitely succeeded that part.
Well, yeah. If you have to blow up the entire planet, that counts, I guess.
Sure.
And it's not like you blew up the planet.
No. That game is, like just in general, that game remains to be pretty cool. It's also one of the trolliest games. There seems to be Nintendo of this age. It's just that little bit more trolly than you expect, a little bit more difficult than you expect,
Yeah.
a little bit more. How was I supposed to know that? Kind of at times.
Bit of the old shoot every tile.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the implementation is more frustrating. I mean, they were going for let's make this look cool, like with the X-ray, for instance. But it's like it'd be just handy if I could just press that and the whole screen was revealed, rather than just look like, or there was some upgrade to make it so you could do that. That would be nice. Because it plays that annoying whine every time you use it, and it's just
a weird thing where it's just like in Metroid Prime where it's like the X-ray visor. Obviously, it fills the entire screen because you're literally looking out from inside the helmet. Whereas in this 2D world, it conveniently is a beam that comes out from your visor, as if you're looking for a visor. It's like, unfortunately, that makes it much less useful. I
mean, there are parts of this though. I'm looking at that visor skill and I'm going, okay, that's what informed Prime's visor skills. Despite apart from the fact that obviously having a visor thing was cool.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they are actually pulling that from this, and some of the weapon power-ups. It's like, even though the weapons work like basically just like a straight upgrade path in this rather than
more or less
having like choice. It's like, okay, I can see where you got your ideas from.
Yeah.
So that's neat from that. But they're just, it's not the slickest thing in the world in places. Like, I don't think it actually, some of the just straight up jumping controls, I don't think are very nice. When you get into like one of the screens that actually does scroll around, like the height of the camera is really weird at times. Like it seems simultaneously both too high in some screens and too low in others.
It just follows Samus around weirdly.
Yeah, just a bit too
Like,
fixed.
you got these weird, not actual momentum compared to your jumps, and it's like it doesn't let you see where you actually want to see
Yeah,
when you're traveling through the air.
it was a bit odd. I do think the space jump controls just weird. I just couldn't figure out how to make it reliable. Like just could not figure that out. Yeah, it's filled with little things, I guess, in terms of that. I think there were some sections, in fact, where the X-ray visor didn't actually help. It was like, there's a hidden wall here, but it's not going to tell me that, like, if I look at it, that there's nothing there. I just have to walk through it.
I mean, technically, you could still say that's also something they did in Prime. It's like the X-ray visor doesn't reveal everything. Sometimes you need thermal.
Sure, I mean but there's a sort of physical sense for some of that there. But like, a big hole in a wall that I could walk through, it's like
you would be able to see it.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So bits like that. But pretty great game. I wish that SNES sound chip was a bit better. So much muffle.
Well, I mean, the music is still fairly iconic.
Sure, yeah. So that boss fight music is quality, but like the rest of it just gets on your nerves after a while. And the only other thing, I finished Superhot. I was right at the end of the game. After I was literally on the last level, as it turns out. Last time I spoke about it, that game is real short. And now all it's really got left is here, go do some challenge modes. But there does seem like there might be a lot of them. But it does mean playing every level you've already played again with slightly different conditions applied. And it's like, and that seems like all that game is, which is actually a bit more disappointing than I thought, really. It's like, I've seen some of the stuff, I've watched some videos of some of the stuff around the edges, like there's hidden terminals in every level, and I found none of them. And I was like, well, what are these? And it's like, well, because what you have to do is ridiculous. Some of them are as simple as just like jumping puzzles, get out of bounds in some way. But some of them are actually like, these are ways to break the world in interesting ways.
Well, it's basically just Braid, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are jumping puzzles, some of them are ridiculous shit that you'd never be able to figure out in a million years.
There's one in particular where you get to a secret area where it looks like it's just a straight, like an empty floor, but there's random shoes,
Okay.
like that are throwable objects. And the idea is you've got to pick up the shoes, throw them at the floor, and where the pieces still are, those are bits of real floor that you can stand on.
Okay.
And so then you have to make your way across this floor to the thing, which in principle, real clever. If you were trying to figure that out, or even just getting to that place seems like it might be a bastard, in fairness, but like just.
It's like technically they do that in Enter the Gungeon as well, don't they? There's that room with the invisible path.
Oh, sure.
And like in the Gungeon, there's different ways to solve that. And apparently the actual way, like the base way, like the unupgraded way, I guess you'd say, for Enter the Gungeon, the way you're meant to solve that is if you use your basic gun, because it has infinite ammo, when you reload and the shell casings pop out, you can use those to see where the actual floor is.
Oh, interesting.
By just reloading your gun and throwing the shell casings on the ground to see where the path is.
Cool.
And I would have never thought to even try that, but apparently that's like...
I guess if you would have thought that would actually work.
No.
Yeah.
Because obviously the way I did it was like, well, you can fly for starters if you get one of those power-ups, but then you can use like the water gun and just spray the ground with the water and see where it is. It's like, nice. That's much easier.
Nice.
But yeah, the way the basic, most simple way to do it is actually so obscure you never would have thought of that.
It's cool that it's there. Like it's in world.
Yeah,
I like that. So Superhot, pretty rad, but boy, that's at the cost it normally is. That is a really hard sell. And I hear Superhot VR is even shorter, so it's like.
But at that point, you've already bought a VR headset, so money.
Yeah, you need stuff for it. You see the pricing for Vive Pro? Did we talk about that?
No, I don't remember.
It's mental.
Well,
like really expensive, and most of the cool stuff is optional extras, like the no cable stuff. It's like it's not built in the headset. No, you've got to buy the extras to make it go wireless. Mental. You're not helping. Like, you're not helping VR with your high prices. It's all cool stuff, though. You may have noticed for the last 2 weeks I've not talked about Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I'm going to go back to that game.
pretty much kind of already figured that out the first time.
I mean, I did play a bit more of it after the first cast. I talked about it, but really don't know what more to say about it. It's just
have to wait for patches.
Yeah, it's a
But
big.
then how long? Like No Man's Sky, where I haven't even gone back to that.
Yeah.
But if I did go back to that at this point, it probably would be quite different because there's been so many patches.
Yeah. For me, it's just a big old bag of nothing. After first few hours.
Mm.
Well, it's the new No Man's Sky, and that's what they say.
Yeah, the No Man's Sea has been thrown around quite a bit. So basically, if we come back to it this time next year,
But then you'd actually have to buy it.
I'll just get another month of Game
Well,
Pass.
you'd still have to buy a thing.
Maybe, yeah.
It wouldn't be your free Game Pass.
Well, no, true. I have still got a few more months I can use, but I haven't, and they will run out fairly soon. I'll have to bank them in, but that's won't last me till next year. Yeah, that's me. That's all that's worth talking about that I can remember.
Cool. Some games. Super
Some
Metroid. Rise. Yeah.
Not Rise. Don't play
Sorry.
Rise. Play Rime.
Right.
I think it's Spanish. It might be
I don't know how
remade
to spell that.
or something like that, but everyone calls it Rime. It's like RIME.
Yeah.
Right.
I only
Close
noticed it might be Spanish because Sombra in Overwatch has a skin that's called Rime, and it's like bluey.
Yeah, but
And it's
Rime
like-
is like frost. It's another,
Oh, is it?
another word for frost?
Well, that
I
would
think.
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
pretty
So
sure that's not what
yeah,
that game.
that's definitely not what that's about. Well, unless it means something else in Spanish,
Well, yeah.
like
if it is, I mean, Rime, if it is a Spanish word as well.
it could be a slang for something. Yeah.
How are we doing on Happy Salad videos on YouTube.com?
Sonic Colors went up last week.
Oh, yes.
The first part.
I did watch that, and it did strike me that, hang on a minute, like, the sort of story stuff in this, while simple, is like
It's quite well
actually
made.
okay.
Yeah.
Like this
It's
is
quite-
actually like fine. In fact, and like the setup of the kind of even without all the aliens or whatever they're called, wisps, but just the setup of the kind of theme park thing in the sky or whatever, and all the aesthetics of it is like, yeah, this is kind of what I would probably want from like a Sonic. Like this makes sense.
Yeah. It does have its own logic and its own winks and nods to itself that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And it's
It's just compared to all the trash. It
Yeah.
was like, hang on, this one was sort of okay.
well, this
in
was the
that
first
sense, at
moment
least.
where it felt like they had acknowledged, like they were sort of aware that of what Sonic is, and
Yeah.
it was just like, oh, okay, no, you do know what's good and bad.
Because
Like-
like the last game when you had Unleashed, and it's like they were dead serious about that Werehog thing, and it's just like, this is so
No.
stupid.
Yeah,
Don't. At
and it
least-
really didn't work in that
Yeah.
game's favor at all.
No, do it this way. So check that out, listeners, if you haven't already.
Although I do find it that moment in that first video where he goes, I'm going to still call them aliens if that's okay. It's like a bit of me thinks is that Sonic being like racist in some way?
Yeah, fully racist. If you want some space racism and you don't want to play Mass Effect again and get it on with Ashley, then I would recommend watching the Sonic Colors video on youtube.com, Happy Salad's channel.
There's another part of that to come at some point, and
Yeah.
teaser, we did some Revolt footage as well, so that'll be coming.
Chunk Rumble coming your way.
Without the chunk rumble.
Without that part, but
Yeah.
but some classic stuff. And and we'll be back in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast. I'm sure E3 is fast approaching, so
Relatively speaking,
yeah.
We'll have some
we'll-
leaks soon.
maybe.
Yeah, leaks soon. So catch you for that discussion in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Cheers.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.